What's going on, guys? Welcome back to #AskGSM here today for Tuesday, August 12, 2025. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. Back on a Tuesday here for the first time in 2 weeks. Obviously, last week post SummerSlam, very busy, very hectic week. We were on Wednesday last week, but of course, resuming our usual schedule here on Tuesdays for the episodic Q&A show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in live or watching after the fact. I greatly appreciate it. If you are tuning in live, do me a favor, like the video. If you haven't already subscribed, I assume many of you watching live were notified when we were going live or are already subscribed. If you're not, what are you waiting for? Subscribe, hit that notification bell to be notified every single time we go live here on the channel. But like I said, be sure to like the video. That would be greatly appreciated. Let's get to some housekeeping stuff before we get going here with the chats and the questions and all that great stuff. Hope you guys are doing well. Shout out to our channel members per usual. Alexis, Miss Maud Matthews, who I saw there in the chat a few moments ago. Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve1, at Swerve1, WON, that is, on IG. Follow him there. Daniel Malcolm, a man at I'm Quarter on X. Mr. Marceau himself, follow him on the Twitter machine at RJ_Marceau. John Ritland, Real Honesty with John Ritland. Check him out as well on YouTube, as well as Richie. Red Planet Wrestling right here on YouTube. And the Average Grunt on X. Check out Average Grunt. Follow him there. Thank you so much to our channel members. If you want more information on how to become a channel member, be sure to check out down below the description box. More information on how to, for $5 a month, become a WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member. You get top billing on shows like this, #AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. I know Average Grunt actually has taken advantage of that in the past, where he has sent in questions and you get them answered before anyone else if you are a channel member. You also get the aforementioned shout-outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do here on the channel. You get badges and emojis and the live chats, early and ad-free access to certain videos, and a few other perks as well. More information on that down below. If you want to send in a question to this very show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post. I usually drop on Tuesday nights, or Monday nights rather, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video or live here in the chat, and I'll include it either in today's video if you're watching live or next week if you drop it after the fact. I'll include it in next week's edition. So, like I said, thank you to everyone joining us live here. I would appreciate if you liked the video. Like I said earlier, we'll get to these scheduled questions in a little bit. Want to shout out Johnny. He said it would look terrible in reference to the Team Brock, Team Cena match that's in the headline of the video for Survivor Series. So, talking about that match, we'll get to that in a little while. I got a few questions about would we get Team Brock and Team Cena at Survivor Series this year? And quite honestly, if we did, I have an interesting proposition as to what that War Games match would look like. And it sounds like we might even get the first match between the two before then at this pay-per-view that they were now rumoring for September to counteract or counter-program, rather, the AEW All-Out pay-per-view that same day in Toronto. WWE might be doing another fucking pay-per-view that exact same day, and they might headline said show with Brock and Cena. That came out today. That was per PW Insider, I think, but I guess we'll find out in due time. He also said bonjour, which you can, I guess is appropriate because they were in Canada. They were in Montreal specifically last night, a very French, obviously dominated part of the country where they speak French. So bonjour is appropriate, and they'll also be in Paris for Clash in Paris in a couple of weeks. Fernando, what's going on, brother? He said, Buenos dias, WrestleRant. Did you enjoy Raw last night? Thought it was a fine show. Thought it was a solid show. Didn't think it was great. Didn't think it was awful. I fucking hate the disqualification finishes and the main events of these shows on Raw and SmackDown. It's exhausting. They just do it all so often. On the shows themselves, I typically expect at least one DQ. But when it gets to a point where it's more than one DQ, and you're also ending every episode of Raw multiple weeks in a row with disqualifications and countouts and non-finishes, it's exhausting. So, they got to stop doing that. But overall, I like the show. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with specifically the women. You know, Asuka and Io Sky, we'll talk about that. Someone sent in a question about it towards the end of the scheduled questions. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do there. I hope Naomi's okay. She wasn't cleared to compete last night, the Women's World Champion, so hopefully she's fine. Hopefully everything's okay with her. She doesn't have to relinquish the Women's World Championship. So hopefully we get an update on her soon. I know they were kind of keeping that quiet as far as her status is concerned. I saw that this morning on Twitter, so Hopefully we find out soon. I'm also looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with Bayley, the whole crazy thing and whatnot. I'm kind of curious as to where that's going to go. I feel like that could be really interesting. So I thought that vignette they did with her was great. The Bronson Reed vignette was great. I thought Io Sky and Roxanne Perez had a great match last night. So I thought the women really were the highlight of the night last night. And I was enjoying the tag team main event with Punk and Knight versus Breakker and Reed up until that lame DQ finish. Alexis here as well, saying hi. Fernando saying hello, Alexis. Nathaniel said, hi, I'm excited for Bayley's heel turn. Are you excited for Lyra versus Bayley feud? Excited, I'm not sure if I would say I'm excited for the sole reason that we've already gotten a bunch of matches between the two over the Women's Intercontinental Championship earlier this year. We had that 2 out of 3 falls match that they had right before SummerSlam on Raw, the number 1 contenders match. So I was looking forward to that, and I thought that was a great match. So we've already had so many matches between them, and if nothing else, since Lyra can't challenge for the championship right now per that stipulation of the match with Becky at SummerSlam, at least it keeps her busy. Against a notable name, it keeps Bayley busy. It's a logical feud to do. I still am not overly into the idea of turning Bayley heel because she was already a heel for 5 fucking years before she turned back into a babyface last year. But listen, she's stagnant. She's trying something new. I guess we'll see where it goes. But I am curious to see where it goes and if it's going to be any good. Because the last time we got like a psycho character with the women in WWE was with Shotzi. And unfortunately, that was terrible. I appreciated the attempt to do something different with her. She just did not really play the role well. Like the maniacal laughing was terrible and it didn't really amount to anything. She got on like Survivor Series. She did get a couple high profile matches on SmackDown. But that push quickly fizzled out and didn't really go anywhere. And now she's gone. So hopefully Bayley can play the role better. If she just goes back to playing like the Karen character that she was doing a number of years ago, I personally would not be in favor of that. I just thought that kind of ran its course. So hopefully she doesn't go right back to doing the maniacal laughing and the complaining. And I think that version of Bayley was, in my opinion, the worst version of Bayley I think I've ever seen, including NXT or on the main roster. So hopefully whatever it is, it'll be good. Millennial Noob, what's going on, brother? He said, good morning, Graham. Noob, what's going on? Hope you're doing well. Zach, thanks for joining. I've seen your comments here on these videos and on other people's tweets and stuff like that, talking about Happy National this day, Happy National that day. I have no fucking clue what you're talking about, but Zach, thank you for joining us nonetheless. Noob, what's going on? He said, I'm pretty shocked that Asuka is frustrated. All she wants to do is help Io Sky against the Judgment Day. The Kabuki Warriors have issues with Raquel and Roxanne. I believe that Asuka is turning heel out of jealousy. Yeah, I could totally see the Asuka heel turn. I'll talk more about that feud in a little while because I know you already sent in a question about it, but I'm intrigued by the story. I love the idea of a heel Asuka against the babyface Io, a feud between the two, and getting Kairi Sane in the middle. And then Io probably having to rely on Io Sky having to rely on Rhea for a big tag team match. Rhea and Io versus the Kabuki Warriors, maybe in Australia. I assume that's where Rhea would get the championship back from Naomi. But that could be where they do that match instead of. They don't want to do that match in September at the whatever pay-per-view. That's going to be in Indianapolis or a Clash in Paris at the end of the month. Moolah, thanks for joining. Nathaniel, what's going on? He said, I would like to see Becky versus Stephanie for the Women's Intercontinental Championship soon. Maybe WrestleMania. I think by that point, I think Stephanie should and will be in the Women's World Championship picture. I think she's probably better than the Women's Intercontinental Championship picture. I'd be cool with that match. I'd be down for that match. I just feel like the biggest thing with a match like that is that we would have to get it before Mania. Honestly, I feel like all roads lead to Stephanie and Rhea for the Women's World Championship on that show at WrestleMania. Becky and Stephanie before then would be fine, but like she would have to lose, right? She's not going to go into. I mean, I guess she could. She win the NXT Women's Championship as the Women's North American Champion, so I guess it's possible. But Becky and Stephanie at some point, I'd be down to see it. Nathaniel also agrees. I'm getting tired of the DQ finishes. Amen, brother. Johnny said TKO making money. UFC signed with Paramount for $7 billion for 7 years. So here's the thing with that. I'll talk more about that with Mr. Marceau on Thursday because we did not have time last week on WrestleRant Radio to discuss the whole WWE and ESPN, PLE deal and whatever. If it's a good thing, bad thing, the confusion around it, I found out more about it in recent days. Listen, the fact that UFC now has a better streaming deal with their shows that were notoriously expensive for a very long time and probably were not worth that price point, considering the buzz around UFC died down many years ago. Still a very popular promotion, far more popular than WWE, I would argue, because people are shelling out a lot more money to watch their shows than WWE's. And that's been the case for a very long time now. But they just signed with Paramount Plus. So I don't know about their content library. I don't know about the UFC fans really care about their content library because it doesn't have the same the same replay value that WWE does. And I'm not really sure if that's ever been easily accessible. But that being said, apparently the UFC pay-per-views going forward are going to be on Paramount Plus for $9.99 because Paramount Plus is like $9.99, $7.99, whatever the fuck it is. So you can watch the shows if you have Paramount Plus, which I don't, but I would sign up for it if I was a UFC fan. Compared to paying, what, $60, $70, $80 for these pay-per-views, I forgot what price point they reached in recent years. But that's how much they were for each event, which I would never do. Even if it was WWE, I would never do that. Back in the day when they were $50, $60, $70, I never paid more than a few times for a couple of pay-per-views. And even then it was my parents because I was so young. But like I think I paid for the Rumble twice and Money in the Bank twice, WrestleMania. I would go to other people's houses for that. I mean, I would never, just me personally, I would never pay that much for one single show. It's not worth that much. Unless my excitement's at an all-time high, which it was for some of those other shows. But, some of the shows that I did get were worth it, but most of them paying that much each month for each of these pay-per-views, whether it's WWE or UFC, not worth it at all. But my point is the fact that UFC is now on Paramount Plus, which a lot of people already have. Again, like I said, I don't. For $9.99, but the WWE shows, at least here in the US, you have to, if you don't, because here's the thing, and we'll talk more about it on Thursday. There was a lot of confusion. If you have certain things, like I heard, if you have cable, if you already have ESPN, you're fine. That's not the case. It works for Fubo or whatever the fuck it is, DirecTV, and a few other satellite providers and, cable providers and whatnot. If you have those, then yes. But if you have Xfinity/Comcast and a few other ones, or YouTube TV, which a lot of people have nowadays, because there's a lot of cord cutters, a lot of people don't have cable, a lot of people do have YouTube TV, most people I know do, then you're kind of fucked. And then you have to buy each of these shows for $30 on this new ESPN service. So all of these bootlickers that I saw saying, this is great for the fans, you're not paying any additional money. Yeah, for some people that have some of these services, I would be willing to bet that a lot of people just in general, not even WWE fans, don't have the aforementioned services. A lot of people either would have, not necessarily Xfinity, but a lot of people have YouTube TV because they don't want to pay for fucking cable because it's ridiculously expensive, probably not worth it. How many people are really watching TV shows on cable consistently? A lot of the, channels that you would probably watch are on the, are on the usual providers as far as are on YouTube TV and the usual, services and whatnot. The channels that you would get are probably on YouTube TV or on, what's the other one? It's YouTube TV and there's another one. I forgot what it is. But people aren't paying for that other shit, so then you're going to have to pay $30 a month for each of these shows. Fuck no, I'm just going to get a VPN and watch it on Netflix in another country. Fuck that, I'm not paying for that shit. So then, you could do that, and I have a VPN, but, it's not easily accessible. I can't just turn on my TV or on my console or whatever it is, smart TV, and turn on Netflix or Peacock or the WWE Network. I have to go through a whole other fucking service. It's just so inconsistent. So, listen, I know WWE did why they did to make money. Who wouldn't? I get it. But it is not easy on the fans. Fans went from having everything on the WWE Network for just $9.99 to then having everything spread out, and now they're taking the pay-per-views off of Peacock, which a lot of people were already paying for the current product and the old stuff, primarily the current stuff. And the old stuff, I guess, isn't even going with the pay-per-views. They're just taking the new pay-per-views and putting them on ESPN, but the old stuff might still be on Peacock. You got Raws on Netflix, but only the live shows and very few select Raws from back in the day. NXT's on the CW, but its content library is nowhere to be found. Some of it's on YouTube. It's a fucking mess. It's a mess. And you're paying way more now to watch any of this shit than you were back in the day. Even with cable, like just paying for cable and then the network, I would argue, honestly, it's either comparable. If not, it's got to be less. I mean, $30. I mean, yeah, with the pay-per-view, with the pay-per-views, like back in the day before 2014, for sure you were paying more for cable to watch Raw and SmackDown and NXT and whatever, and then the pay-per-views on top of it that were like $50, $60. For sure that was more expensive. But then they went down, though. And granted, the company's popularity went down in 2014, 2015, 2016, where they were kind of forced to adapt to the streaming model because their quality of product was largely not good. So the fans benefited where they weren't making as much money off of it, but we benefited having to pay such a low price. And then to expect people to go from paying $9.99 if you don't have the ESPN service, to expect people to pay $9.99 to then go to $30 a month for a subpar pay-per-view. And some of them are very good, but some of them are just fucking completely inconsequential, where it's just the crowd singing and all this other shit. I enjoy the shows for the price point of $9.99. If they're going to be $30 a month, I'm sorry, they're not worth $30 a month. Clash in Paris could be a good show. It probably won't be worth $30 a month. And Nick Khan, for him to say, oh yeah, people went from the WWE Network to Peacock. Yeah, because it was the same price, and some people already had Peacock. This ESPN thing is new, so people don't already have that. And it's also going from $9.99 a month to $30 a month. I mean, that's a drastic, what is that, a fucking 200,000 or a 200% increase from what it was before? It's not a 50% increase. It's going up $5. It's what you're already paying times like 3. That's, I'm sorry, just ridiculous. We'll talk more about that on the show on Thursday, but that's just my quick thoughts on it. I guess quick, quote unquote. Nathaniel said, I wonder if Punk should dethrone Seth Rollins. I wouldn't do that necessarily. It's either Punk or Sami Zayn. I think they should get Punk and Rollins out of the way in the next couple of months, whether it be at that September pay-per-view or at Survivor Series, because that was where their feud kind of got started again when Punk returned 2 years ago. So that would be a fitting place to blow off their feud. They got to move on from it. I would not drag it on till Mania. Rollins and Zayn is also a WrestleMania worthy match. Someone's Rollins and Punk, but they're also building towards Rollins and Reigns. When are we getting that match? So it's kind of tough. But I would not have Punk be the one to take the title from Rollins. Punk should be champion. Maybe he gets desperate, goes heel, and challenges Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania and beats him for the belt. You know, maybe it's the WWE Championship he wins instead of the World Heavyweight title. I want Punk to have an actual run before he retires and not just hold it for 5 fucking minutes. But just a thought. I don't think it's going to be Punk beating Rollins, though. It'll probably be, God forbid, it's Roman Reigns. I know Roman beating Rollins is kind of the end of that story, but he should not beat him for the championship. Sami Zayn, I feel like, would make the most sense. He also said, I like your Ed shirt. Thank you. Alexis got this for me a number of years ago, actually, when Edge returned to WWE, when he returned to wrestling. So, yes, I love this shirt. He said, would you want Bayley versus Becky eventually for the IC Championship? No, because they already did it. I mean, could we get it again? Sure, but they did it on Raw. We got the triple threat of Evolution, which was great. What's the point of doing it again? Bayley's probably going heel, so it would be a heel versus heel match. Not really a match that interests me personally, at least not at this point. Before, yes. At this point, no. Johnny said, what letter grade tier list letters would you give Kieran Cross his time in WWE? Good question. So S, A through D, if we're going off tier list letters. His second run or overall? You talking about his second stint or overall, Johnny? If we're going off his second stint that went 3 years, I would probably go C plus. I mean, how could it be anything above that? He didn't really do anything. He had a number of feuds that he lost all of them. He was only on pay-per-view a handful of times. Every feud that he had, he fucking lost. Whether it was with, I guess he technically won the feud with the Wyatt Six, but his group got disbanded. He was given his own group for about a year, almost exactly a year, and the rest of them got fired except for Scarlett, who obviously they signed a deal with. They kept them too, which I was happy about. He got organically over this year, but it didn't really amount to much. He had a couple great promos. The vignettes I thought were awesome, but it didn't really translate to television. His matches really weren't overly memorable. He had a feud with Sami Zayn that he lost. He did beat Sami Zayn once on Raw, but he lost to him at Night of Champions. He lost to him at SummerSlam. He lost to Drew McIntyre years ago. He actually owns a pay-per-view win over Drew McIntyre from late 2022 And I think Extreme Rules, which I was there for, but he would lose to Drew McIntyre in the steel cage match at the Crown Jewel show about a month or so later. And then he disappeared. They would keep him busy in feuds with Nakamura and Rey Mysterio and all these other people. But he lost every single one. The Bobby Lashley feud, he lost. And I like Kieran a lot. I'm a big fan of his work. I think his promos are great. His in-ring work, I think, is fine. He said overall, it would have to be a C. Because his NXT run was great. He was protected very well. But he was only in NXT for a year. So Kieran Cross, if you include his overall time in WWE, that's going back 5 years because he signed in early 2020. His NXT run was great. He also got hurt for a time too, but he came back and won the NXT championship a little while later. Wasn't pinned for a good year. His main roster run the first time was a fucking disaster. It was terrible. He was beat the first time he was called up. He was beat his first night on Raw in 90 seconds in unspectacular fashion by a guy that would go on to get fired a few months later anyway. And then he was brought back. He looked like a star. I liked the vignettes. But it never really got beyond a certain level. He would never be able to beat AJ Styles. He lost to him 4 or 5 times. I would have to go a C. I like Kieran. I feel like he had a higher ceiling. But he also didn't really deliver whenever the bell rang. He just was not having the matches that he needed to be a top talent. I mean, I thought Kieran was a future world champion, but he had some really good matches in NXT. What matches really stand out from his time on the main roster? And is it a question of, he wasn't given the time? Brother, he was working with top-tier talent like AJ Styles, like Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre. A lot of the matches were just good or mid, but not great. And I hope Kieran Cross comes back. I am thinking this is a complete 180 from what I was thinking a week ago. I do think he will be brought back. Could he be legitimately gone from the company? Sure, absolutely. Do I think he'll be brought back? Absolutely. I would be very surprised if they gave that guy as much television time as they did, only for him to be let go, or to be not renewed or whatever. But it's not like he really impressed them on the way out as far as his in-ring ability was concerned. He was going in there and having kind of underwhelming matches. He probably had the weakest match of the entire weekend with Sami Zayn, maybe below. I think even Tiffany and Jade may have had a better match, even though they were given less time. Let's back it up a little bit here. What was your favorite Kieran Cross match in NXT? Probably the Finn Balor one. They had 2 matches where he beat him for the belt, and then they had a rematch where he beat him to retain it. Trying to think if he had other matches that really stood out to me. Him and Escobar had a good match on TV once. Him and Damian Priest had a good match. They weren't really great. It would have to be the Finn Balor match. I think the Finn Balor match was probably the best match that he had. The Keith Lee match was kind of a dud. The Escobar, Damian Priest matches were good, but not great. Who else did he work with? I think Johnny Gargano on TV he worked with. That match was probably good. I don't know how great it was, but it would probably have to be Finn Balor. When he won the NXT Championship. The match with Joe where he lost the belt wasn't anything special either in 2021. So it would probably be the belt, or either the initial match where he won the championship from Balor, or the rematch where he just retained it. How about Stephanie versus Nikki Bella at WrestleMania? I don't see that happening. I think Stephanie will be either challenging or defending the Women's World Championship by then. Johnny, I don't see Stephanie and Nikki. I don't even know if Nikki's going to be around by WrestleMania. I'm not sure how long this run is going to last. We'll definitely get that match at some point. I could see Nikki Bella turning on Stephanie. But at WrestleMania for like the championship, I don't see that happening. Stephanie should be higher up in the card than that. Maria said, hello, everyone. TKO is sucking us dry. And indeed they are. But the funny thing is, if I mentioned this earlier, that with the UFC thing, it's the same fucking company. Like TKO organized, WWE TKO signed the deal with ESPN to make $1 billion or whatever it is. They're making way more than that with UFC for a lesser amount. Like, you would think that the UFC pay-per-views would end up on ESPN, because I think they were already offered through ESPN or ESPN Plus or whatever it was for like an obscene amount of money. You would think that they would follow the model that WWE signed, where you're paying less money. Like, they went from being $50, $60, $70 a month per pay-per-view to then $30. That's a discount for UFC fans. WWE fans were paying $10 a month, and some of them are now going to have to pay $30. That's a pretty drastic increase. That's a pretty drastic decrease for UFC fans to go from paying $50 to $70, $80 a month to then $10 for a streaming service a lot of people probably don't have to pay extra for because they already have. This ESPN thing no one fucking has. Why the fuck would I want it? I'm not really a sports fan. I'm not watching anything else on this service. It's not worth it. It is pretty funny how TKO, it's the same company. TKO, whatever deal they signed with the UFC is the same people that were organizing and negotiating the deal for WWE to be on ESPN. It's honestly insane to me. Johnny said, do you find AEW pay-per-view prices reasonable? I not really, to be honest with you, because the pay-per-views, here's the thing. You have to make your money's worth. Are the pay-per-views worth the money? Yes, because the pay-per-views are great. But how much money, I honestly don't even really know because they've gotten every AEW pay-per-view for free because it's a Turner Network thing. I work for Bleacher Report, same company, whatever. So I've never had to pay a dime for an AEW pay-per-view. How much are they going for nowadays? Are they like $50? I think a $30 pay-per-view would make sense. I honestly can't wait until the day that they're on Max for everyone else. Again, like I said, I just get them for free, so it doesn't really bother me personally. But I never really thought, like, the $50 per pay-per-view I thought made more sense for AEW, and I talked about this before, when they were only doing 4 a year. So it's like, okay, they're premium pay-per-views, they're loaded cards, you're going to pay that amount, $200 a year. If they're 50, I don't know how much they are. Let's say they're 50. But now they're doing them every month. So you're really dishing out 50 for All In, and then Forbidden Door, which is not worth $50, I'm sorry. And then All Out a couple of weeks later, and then Wrestle Dream. No, that's, to me, in 2025, you should not be paying for a wrestling pay-per-view when they've been so low for so long, $50 a month. Are the AEW pay-per-views better than WWE's? Usually, yes, they're far better quality-wise. You're getting your money's worth with the amount of matches. And I hate the fucking length of the shows, but I think they do that to give people their money's worth, and I think that's part of the reason why they're so long. I still would not pay $50 a month. I think that's just crazy. So I guess the answer is no. AEW pay-per-views are very good. Are they worth per month? Like, if you watch every single one for that amount, no. I think it's high time they get the pay-per-views on Max, the live ones, and they ditch the concept of people paying that much. And people still were. I mean, there's a lot of AEW fans, the fucking diehards. I mean, their buy rates were in the 100,000, 200,000 when Punk was there. I don't know what they're going for now, but even with that price point, a lot of people are still buying the pay-per-views. God bless them. I would not be among them. Maybe for a few of them, if not just All In. Those shows are worth it. But like the Forbidden Doors, the Wrestle Dreams, come on. The shows are good, but they're not like $50 worth. Again, at least in my opinion. Johnny said Sami Zayn should be the front runner to win the Royal Rumble. I think he is. I think he is going to be, to me, he's the early favorite. I wrote a whole article about that last week on BR. It's either him or Punk. I'm not really sure who else it would be. I guess you could say Roman. No. It's got to be Sami Zayn. They're in Saudi Arabia. They love Sami over there. It makes sense for him to win. It's a great story to tell. Finally winning his first world championship either against Seth or Drew or whoever. That's what I would do. But, yeah, I feel like he's the front runner, absolutely. Maria said Punk does not need the world championship. Correct. He does not need the world championship, but just as a Punk fan and given how popular he is, I do feel like getting one more Punk world title run, at least one more, would be great. Especially since his total combined time as world champion in the last 4 years is like 5 days. Because he held the AEW World Championship twice. I mean, his most recent World Heavyweight Championship run at SummerSlam was like 5 minutes. His 2 world title runs in AEW, one of them was over within a day because he got suspended the same night he had the press conference meltdown. So he was stripped of the championship almost immediately. And then the first run he got injured in 5 days. I think he had to give that, he won the belt on Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, and then gave it up by Friday on Rampage. So he wasn't champion for all that long. I would like to see a real Punk run one of these days, whether it be as a babyface or as a heel. So, no, he does not need the world championship. Honestly, no one really needs the world championship, especially at this stage of Punk's career where he's older, more prone to injuries and stuff like that. But I feel like it'd be a nice story to tell. Maria said, unpopular opinion, Sami Zayn is not champion material. I disagree. I feel like, first of all, the amount of people you have given the world championship to, how the fuck do you not give Sami Zayn a world championship run when people like Jinder Mahal have been champion and Jack Swagger? I mean, Sami Zayn is certainly popular enough. He's great enough in the ring, great enough on the mic. Is he the guy? Is he the guy that you build around for more than a few months? No, he's not. He's better than Jey Uso in every respect, for the most part. He doesn't have a fancy catchphrase, but he's better on the mic than Jey. He's better all around in the ring than Jey. Far, far, far better. Better character development than Jey. So if Jey can get a world championship run, and he should have because he was very popular, and he is still very popular, so I don't blame them for putting the belt on Jey. I was happy about that. If you do that for Jey, how do you not do that for Sami Zayn? At some point, if only for a few months. He's much better as an underdog, but he absolutely at some point should be world champion. Johnny said, on this day, I see clearly, referencing the shirt. Nathaniel said, would you want Lyra to go to SmackDown and challenge Julia? No, because, first of all, I kind of worry about that. Julia needs new challengers. I don't know if it's Jade. Is she going to go right back to facing Zelina Vega and Michin? I feel like Lyra going for, I guess her and Julia would be something new, I suppose, but I don't really want to see that. I just feel like Lyra and Bayley, for as many times as we've seen that match, is the logical feud to do right now, with Bayley snapping on Lyra, trying to be your friend and going like the whole Tatum Paxley route. I mentioned the last time we got a psycho character in WWE was Shotzi. I mean, I don't know when Lyra or Tatum rather started doing her shtick when she was crazy. I think it was probably last year. She actually plays that role really, really well. I think Tatum has improved a lot. She plays that role exceptionally well, far better than Shotzi ever did. And they were actually in the same faction for a little while in NXT before they let go of Shotzi earlier this year. But no, Lyra on SmackDown to challenge Julia. The matches would be great, but she's not winning. So then where does she go after that? So, no, I would not say I want to see that anytime soon. Nathaniel said, I was shocked that Edge went to AEW in 2023, then was excited that Cope and Christian can eventually tag and win the tag titles at the time. Well, they're going to at some point. You can bet on that. They will absolutely be champions at some point in AEW, World Tag Team Champions. Richie, what's going on, brother? He said, I am late. Hello, everyone. Richie, what's going on? Thanks for joining, as always. Johnny said, maybe Kieran Cross and Jeff Hardy can have a rematch in TNA. No. No thanks. They had a whole series of matches in WWE, none of which were really overly memorable. I have no interest in that whatsoever, so no thanks. Kieran Cross and TNA, I feel like would be a good fit, though. The only thing is, I don't know if he would want to go back there because of what happened last time. Now, granted, it's a different regime, but even when he got fired the last time, and Don Callis was not there at that point, but Scott D'Amore was, so he might have an issue with Scott D'Amore. I'm not sure. He didn't even sniff TNA the last time he got fired from WWE. Now that they're working with WWE, if he is going to go back to WWE at some point, then going to TNA would make sense. I feel like him and TNA would be cool. He's not going to AEW. I don't really feel like that's a great fit, nor would he want to go there anyway. He didn't want to go there last time. Why would he want to go there now? MLW, I mean, that's where he kind of had a number of appearances back in the day. MLW would make sense, or TNA. If he is actually gone, which I'm not convinced that he is, or won't be back at some point. Maria said, do you think Dirty Dom will become world champion in a few years? Yes, I do. I do think he's someone that they absolutely want to push towards that level at some point in the future. Richie said, for whatever it's worth, Kieran Cross is still on the homepage carousel of WWE Shop. Interesting. They took his theme off of Spotify. They were pretty fucking quick to do that. Interesting that he's still on the WWE Shop page. I mean, when people get released, though, Brock was still on WWE Shop, was he not? I mean, you're mentioning, like, the homepage. That's kind of a big deal. I still don't think he's, like, completely gone. They were plugging his book on NXT last week. I'm like, come on. If he's not, why would they go out of their way to do that if the guy's not going to be under contract in 3 or 4 days? I mean, give me a break. Did you see Kieran Cross's matches in TNA and Lucha Underground, Maria asked. Yes, I did. I followed him in both promotions. I was a fan of his in TNA and Lucha when he was doing, like, the White Rabbit thing. That was kind of fucking weird. It was an interesting character. I remember no matches he had in Lucha Underground. I don't even remember if he wrestled in Lucha Underground. I remember the vignettes and the character work. I don't remember him even ever wrestling in Lucha. In TNA, he was linked with, for a little while there, linked with Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, or John Hennigan, Johnny Impact, whatever the fucking name he was using in TNA at that time. Didn't have a whole lot of, like, above-average matches, though. I thought he had a good look, and he had potential. Couldn't tell you one great match he had in TNA during that run. That's the thing. I like Kieran Cross a lot, but I feel like I can't really name a lot of great matches. But then again, you know what? He was more creative than Kieran. But Bray Wyatt, not to disrespect the dead, I know Alexis is here. She's not going to like to hear this, but it's true. There weren't a lot of great Bray Wyatt matches either. Some of the best Bray Wyatt matches, which honestly you couldn't really name on more than one hand, if we're being honest here. He had that amazing match with Daniel Bryan at the Royal Rumble in 2014. They had that amazing match with The Shield at Elimination Chamber 2014. And that was it. I honestly can't think of many other, Firefly Funhouse and the cinematic stuff, but great matches that Bray Wyatt had, not many. Not many. And Kieran Cross is in that same category. But Kieran Cross also is not Bray Wyatt, who was a multi-time world champion in WWE. He's got to break through that echelon that Bray Wyatt did in order to get to that level. Speaking of Keith Lee, I wonder when he's coming back. To WWE at this point, it might be never. I mean, or just in general, the man has not been on AEW television in almost 2 fucking years. I mean, whatever health issue is plaguing him is obviously serious enough to where he hasn't talked about it. And second of all, it's kept him out for that long. If it's just that we don't have plans for you, pal, then he's probably on his way out. But he's also a lot older now. He's not the Keith Lee of 5-10 years ago. I think it's over for him. I hate to say it. I love Keith Lee. Very nice guy, great athlete and whatnot. Or at least he was. Nowadays, I don't know. I just feel like he's probably never coming back to wrestling in general. I hope I'm wrong, but it's been long enough where it's like, okay, if he hasn't come back at this point, then something is seriously wrong. Whether it just be they don't have plans or his health is not, unfortunately, up to par. Fernando said, we don't need Nikki Bella until Mania. The women's division is too good for that. I don't mind them keeping Nikki Bella around. I think she's actually played her role very well. I wrote about that in a BR article this past week, yesterday. I think Nikki Bella so far has played her role really well. The whole alliance with Stephanie now challenging Becky for the women's IC title. I liked their segment last week. Nikki was not on the show last night, but I thought their segment last week was great. No issue with Nikki Bella being around. Now, if you bring in Brie Mode, now we're going to have an issue because the Bella twins together are just fucking intolerable and unsufferable just as an act. And Brie Bella sucks. I'm sorry, she just sucks. Nikki Bella on her own is far more bearable. Johnny said, UFC don't pay their fighters well unless they are champions. I know, I've heard that. Maria said, we are paying the damn length of these AEW pay-per-views. Honestly, I mean, me personally, I don't really think that the length matters. It's not like if I were to pay $50 for an AEW pay-per-view, if I were to pay $50 for an AEW pay-per-view, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I got my money's worth because it's a 7-hour show. If the show is great, doesn't matter if it's 3 hours, 2.5 hours, 7 hours, I'm going to say I got my money's worth. I really don't think the length of the shows really makes much of a difference, at least in my opinion. Maybe there's other people who feel otherwise. Richie said, with the $1.6 billion ESPN deal and $7.6 billion Paramount deal, I don't want to hear Endeavor TKO talk about being in debt again. They might. I don't know. I don't know how the whole money situation. How much money were they in debt anyway? I heard that TKO. I mean, every fucking company's in debt. How much money are they in debt anyway? I don't honestly remember, but is it? I don't know. Maybe they have to make. Was it millions of dollars? Was it billions? It's probably billions, but maybe they shouldn't have bought WWE or fucking UFC or whatever. The 434 days came back to bite CM Punk, Johnny said. Yeah, he had. It's amazing, and I was thinking about that the other day. How someone with one of the longest world championship runs in the last 15 years could then go on to have another 3 world title wins, but all of those wins would be short-lived at literally less than a week is very crazy to me. Richie said, don't you dare slander Jinder. I know Jinder's a friend of Richie's, and he was nice to him when he met him. I've met Jinder. He was a nice guy. Still, the most, the definition of a mediocre performer in almost every single respect. I'm sorry. Great guy, but so is my neighbor. Doesn't mean he should be world champion. Alexis said Jinder sucks. Fernando said Sammy is way better than Jay. Yes, he is. And I like Jay. But Sammy is in. You cannot argue that Jey Uso is better than Sammy. Aside from popularity, that's really the only thing he might have over Sammy. And even then, Sammy's pretty popular. Fernando said Bayley is totally turning heel. I think so too. Do you think Christian is the greatest heel in AEW currently, Nathaniel asked? I would probably still go with MJF, but Christian would be up there. He's probably going babyface soon, but he has been one of AEW's better heels for the last few years. I will say that. Do I remember Psycho Bob Backlund, Fernando asked? I do. He got a WWE title win out of it. Short-lived, but he did. Also got not a great match out of it with Bret Hart at WrestleMania. Wasn't a big fan of that. But, Psycho Bob was very entertaining, though. Alexis asked, also, is Cross actually done? I think legitimately his contract is not under... I don't think he's legitimately under contract anymore. I think they're really playing up the idea that he's gone. I think he's coming back. I mean, the fact they would even mention him on commentary, nothing's done by accident. They mentioned him twice last night during the Sammy match and at another point during the show, maybe during that same match. But usually when they release people, or it doesn't matter if they're released or their contracts expire, they're typically persona non grata. Cross getting more of a mention on TV than when he was actually with the company is kind of comical to me and tells me that he does still either work there or he will be brought back. Honestly, they may have worked out like a Brian Pillman type of deal where it's like, we will actually let you go to play up the idea that you are gone. I mean, Brian Pillman then left for WWE after that, so it wasn't exactly the same thing. I don't think Kieran Cross is going to pull a fast one and go to AEW. I mean, imagine if he showed up on Dynamite this week. That'd be insane. I think he is coming back to WWE. I think legitimately his contract did expire, and they did not sign it. But I guess we'll see. I think he'll be back, though. But they're doing a great job of making you think that he will not be back. And the funny thing, you know what I said to someone last night? I think I was texting Daniel about this. And this was before Raw even happened. So, there was a lot of outrage on social media over the weekend over the whole Kieran Cross thing and him not getting re-signed. And rightfully so. I think the guy's very talented, and him and Scarlett should both be re-signed as an act on the show. But what if this is all a work? And they were waiting for people to chant, "We want Cross on Raw." And they're going to start a movement. Like when Daniel Bryan got fired 15 years ago, people were chanting, "We want Bryan," like we want Daniel Bryan or whatever it was. When R-Truth got fired, they weren't waiting for people to chant that to bring him back. They just thought better of it because the outcry over R-Truth getting fired was far more than when Kieran Cross got fired. But they brought back R-Truth. They brought back Daniel Bryan. Will they bring back Kieran Cross? I don't know. I'm not really sure. But with Kieran Cross, it would be very funny if they expected people to chant that on Raw and for that to be the reason why they bring him back, like this was all coordinated. But then what if people don't chant and then they're like, you know what, actually we'll make your release real instead. Like we actually won't bring you back after all. We're going to change plans. People really apparently don't want you back because they're not chanting your name the way that we thought they would. Let's make your release real. How fucked up would that be? I guess it's not completely out of the realm of possibility, but I just thought that idea was funny. Richie said, thoughts on WWE planning a PLE in Indianapolis on the same day as All In, with Cena versus Brock supposedly taking place then. Yeah, I mentioned that at the start of the video. I tweeted yesterday, I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired. Because here's the thing, the counter-programming is so fucking excessive. This is why that pay-per-view all around is unnecessary. One, this would be the first time a WWE pay-per-view, not an NXT show, is going to counter-program AEW. They don't see these people as competition, but we'll still put our pay-per-view up against theirs that's been scheduled for months. Whereas WWE's, maybe internally they were discussing it, but they have not announced this show publicly at all. Even just now, it's rumored. It's not even officially announced. They're going to announce a pay-per-view a month out? I mean, obviously it'll still do well. People will still buy tickets. No issue there. But they're obviously only doing that to take away from AEW. It's just exhausting, and it's not like it's even a WWE versus AEW thing. As a fan, I don't want to have to watch both on the same day, at the same time. Just have separate weekends. Why have to do it at the same time? It's just way too much fucking wrestling. It's way too much. Just do it a different weekend, or do it the next day. Even then, it's kind of tiring, but at least it's the next day. I'm not a fan of that personally. And the other thing is, it's not even the counter-programming, which it's a business, whatever. I don't agree with that. I think it's fucking petty as shit, but whatever. My bigger issue with it, honestly, is that show isn't even necessary. Bro, they have Clash in Paris 3 weeks before that. They have Clash in Paris on August 31st. They do not, and they also have Crown Jewel, which has already been announced officially. They have that like 2 or 3 weeks later. Why do we need another pay-per-view 3 weeks after Clash and 3 weeks before Crown Jewel? It's too much. And then these builds suck because the builds are just non-existent. You know what I mean? It's just too much. The shows suffer. These are the same shows you expect people to pay $30 a month for. Give me a break. We don't need a pay-per-view in September. We don't. You can't. You're telling me you can't do a 6-week build in between pay-per-views? You got to do 3 and 3. It can't be just 6 weeks in between whatever the August show is and the October show. Come on, man. And then the Indianapolis thing is also weird. I know WWE announced that big deal with Indianapolis about a year ago, where they're going to bring future Rumbles there and Manias and SummerSlams. I liked Indianapolis when I was there earlier this year. Or last year. I think it was earlier this year. I liked Indianapolis. But I thought that deal was just for the bigger shows. Why are we bringing a pay-per-view, another pay-per-view to Indianapolis on the same calendar year that we just had the Royal Rumble there? 7 months earlier. Come on, man. Like, there's so many cities that have not gotten PLEs, and not even trying to be biased and say, oh, Boston or Chicago. Boston will very likely get Cena's last match in December. But like New York City or New York itself, I don't think has gotten a pay-per-view since Survivor Series 2021. Otherwise, they probably would have been there. Which is kind of crazy to think WWE has not done a pay-per-view. I mean, at Madison Square Garden, they have not done that consistently in a long time. But Barclays Center, they would run shows there all the time. They did Raw there, obviously, last week, and I was there for that one. But they haven't done a show at the Barclays Center in years, which I guess it's like, karma almost, because we got so many pay-per-views there from TLC 2012. They did, obviously, they did SummerSlam there 4 years in a row. They did a lot of shows at the Barclays Center for a very long time, including Survivor Series 2021. But why Indy? You know what I mean? They haven't done a show in Chicago since Survivor Series 2023. There's plenty of other cities they haven't been to for a pay-per-view in a few years. I just don't understand why they have to go back there specifically so short after being there for the Rumble. It's also burning out a market. I'm just not a fan of it. Anyway, he also said Cross is done and they're going to rehire Jinder. Richie, don't you dare say that. Don't you dare say that. Nathaniel said, Graham, who would you like to see dethrone Becky? I wouldn't mind if it's Asuka or Io. You are obsessed with these Becky questions, my friend. Who do I want to see dethrone Becky? Probably Io. I mean, Becky's a heel. Asuka's hopefully turning heel. We haven't seen a whole lot of Io versus Becky. They've had matches, but not like a feud. I'll say Io, because I don't think Io gets back the Women's World Championship anytime soon. Rhea and Becky running it back would be cool, but I think Rhea's ultimate destination is the Women's World Championship, whether you like it or not. So we'll go with Io. I mean, who else even really is there? I would say Lyra, but she can't challenge for the championship as long as Becky holds it, so it's not going to be Lyra. It shouldn't be Bayley. Asuka's going to go heel, and then we've also seen Becky and Asuka a million times. It would probably be Io. Johnny said, do you think Kyle Fletcher wins the AEW World Championship in a few years? Yes, I do. He's great. Johnny said, Carrie Cross favorites burgers are rabbit burgers. I know he's a white rabbit, like the whole thing in Lucha, but as far as rabbit burgers, I don't understand the reference. Let's see. Backtracking a lot of chats here from Universal. I will address those in a second. Hold on. He said, greetings and salutations, Universal. Thanks for joining. You sent in a lot of chats, all of which I will read in a moment. Grunt said, first of all, Grunt, what's going on? Thanks for joining. He said, Daniel Bryan was Wyatt's greatest rival without a doubt. Oh, easily. Daniel Bryan brought the best out of Wyatt more than anyone. More than anyone. I mean, it's not John Cena. Their matches were largely not great, and Cena fucking buried him at WrestleMania 30, which I never forgave him for. I kid. But yeah, I mean, Wyatt had a lot of good rivals, but Daniel Bryan's got to be number one. The whole turn with the Wyatt family, that whole Daniel Bryan being a Wyatt thing was so short-lived, but the payoff was great. What other great rivals did Bray Wyatt even really have? He faced Dean Ambrose a whole lot. I actually did not love that feud. Randy Orton, they had a whole bunch of matches. A lot of those matches were not good, so it would not be Orton. He really did not have a lot of great rivals, man. Finn Balor, they had some good matches. I mean, they had 2 matches at SummerSlam. It was going to lead to him being Sister Abigail, which was kind of terrible. Thankfully, they made up for it when he became the Fiend in 2019 and he beat Balor at SummerSlam that year. That was cool. I wouldn't call him like a great Wyatt rival, though. It's kind of amazing. Bray Wyatt really did not have a lot of great... I mean, a lot of his time in the main roster was kind of botched, to be honest with you. But, I mean, I guess Jericho would be an underrated rival of his. He beat Jericho a bunch, and they had some very good matches on pay-per-view and on TV. I would say Jericho is an underrated rival of Bray Wyatt. Daniel Bryan is in a league all of his own, because I don't really think anyone else came close to having the sort of feud with Wyatt that he did. Kane, The Miz, no. They had a bunch of matches, but it wasn't really exactly a great feud. Who else did Bray Wyatt even really feud with that was, like, remotely memorable? I'm trying to think. I mean, the LA Knight feud I enjoyed. The match was terrible at Royal Rumble a few years ago. But their most recent rivalry, the rivalry itself, I didn't really have an issue with at all. I thought it was actually kind of good for the most part. Before he left, the Braun Strowman feud was fine. The matches weren't great. Roman Reigns, honestly, would probably be another great rival of Bray Wyatt. I thought they had a string of very good matches in 2015. And they never really worked again after that together. Obviously, in 2020, Roman beat him for the World Championship in that triple threat where Wyatt was not pinned. But they never went back to that. But I thought they had a great feud in 2015. So I would probably say Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns, but Daniel Bryan is easily number 1. Universal said Keith Lee has a neck problem similar to Big E's. I don't know about that. Is that the case? I mean, the guy had like COVID. He had heart issues for a long time. Do we know he has a neck issue? How do we know that? He has said nothing. The company has said nothing. We just know that he's out of action, so I would not be quick to assume that. Also, if he had a neck injury, the guy would just be gone. He has not said, like Big E's done. Like Big E's done in the ring. Do I think Big E will be back? Yes. But Big E was just taken off the roster. It's not like, oh, he's hurt, he's sidelined, he could be back. No, he's still like at the TV taping sometimes. Like, I don't know what's going on with Keith Lee. I really do think it's like a, I forgot the exact word for it, but like a cardiovascular thing. I'm not sure. He's so fucking vague about it. He never really elaborates. I know that was his health issue during COVID. I honestly think it's the same problem because he's been in and out of the ring for years now. I think it's the same thing. I'm not really sure where you got the neck thing from. I mean, maybe, but I did not get that sense at all. Also because no one's talked about it. Grunt said, I hope we finally at least get that Keith Lee Swerve match at some point. I mean, if the guy doesn't come back, we're never getting it. But I was looking forward to that because they dragged that storyline on for so fucking long. Because Keith Lee was gone, and then he came back, and they still didn't do the match. They were finally going to do the match at World's End 2023. I was actually at that show. I was looking forward to that match. And then he got sick or whatever it was, and he has not been back since. I was so pissed. I'm like, fuck, man. And then they announced the change to the match that night. Like, we did not know that match wasn't happening until that night, which really sucked. And I think I even asked Tony Khan about the whole Keith Lee situation. He kind of gave a non-answer because, I mean, we really don't know, and he doesn't want to share whatever it is. I don't know. Hopefully the guy's doing okay. He says he's doing okay on Twitter. He's very active on Twitter, but doesn't really elaborate what's wrong with him, which is his business, obviously. I just want the guy to be okay. People want to know if he's ever coming back. I don't think he is at this point. It's been long enough, but who knows. But yeah, that Lee Swerve match, if they really struck while the iron was hot and done that match when they had that chance in like 2022, that would have been awesome. But they dragged it on for way too long. Do you hate Brie Bella's theme song? Nathaniel asked. Of course, it's awful. Brie mode is garbage. I will absolutely hinder and slander Jinder, Grunt said. Richie said, let's see. Yeah, he was just responding with the Keith Lee thing. Nathaniel said, I didn't like Jay being added to the World Championship match. Yeah, they're only doing that so we can get the entrance in Paris. Because why else? I know he won the tag team match at SummerSlam. I guess he won for his team, so I guess you could justify that's how he's getting an opportunity. He should not fucking win. I honestly don't really care that he's in there. Roman I would not have done because Roman and Rollins I would save until they go one-on-one at some point. But him being in there doesn't really bother me. Should it have just been a triple threat with Punk, Knight, and Rollins? Yes, but Jay being added, they're probably just doing it so they can get the crowd reaction and maybe he'll take the pinfall loss. It doesn't really bother me that much. As long as he doesn't win. Let's see. Richie even said, there has been no indication of a neck injury or any disclosure of what Keith Lee has been going through. Exactly. There's been no confirmation of that whatsoever. Let's see. It's just you guys talking in the chats. Let's see. A lot of chats here. Hold on. I have ESPN, so I'm good to go for the pay-per-view, Nathaniel said. Well, guess what? I have ESPN too, but apparently it doesn't matter because it only counts for certain things. If you have DirecTV, I have Xfinity, and a lot of people I know have YouTube, so all of those people are fucked. Just because you have ESPN does not mean you have the ESPN app or whatever this whole thing is. That was what they indicated, but I've also heard from a lot of other people that's not the case. They're very unclear, and the whole thing's a fucking mess, and fuck them for that. Let's see. Richie also said WWE can say that they don't see AEW as competition all they want, but they definitely do. Absolutely. Who are they trying to kid? I agree. I have no idea. If you were booking Survivor Series, who would be on Team Cena and Team Brock? Well, that's the whole question of the video, right? I will get to that a little bit later on. That question was asked, and I will answer that question. I put together the teams for that match, and I will... It's not really anything crazy, to be honest. You could probably guess what teams I selected, but I will reveal that in a little bit. Johnny said TKO wants WWE and UFC to have more and more events. Money, 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 money. Of course, it's all about the money. All about the money. Let's see. Backtracking a little bit here. A lot of chats. Hold on. Let's see. Universal said, Cena's last match. Well, first of all, my name is not host. My name is Graham, or WrestleRant. My name is not fucking host. He said Cena's last match is not in Boston, but John Cena's last date is in Boston. Hint, hint. Brother, you have no idea what you're talking about. Why the fuck would his last date be in Boston, but he wouldn't wrestle? His last match is not in Boston, but he's just going to appear in Boston. What, are they going to throw a fucking birthday party for him? Get a grip, pal. I mean, come on, give me a break. You think he's just going to appear there? First of all, they never actually announced anything for Boston. We're just speculating. His dad even said that. Maybe his dad has no idea. You're telling me they're going to announce a Saturday Night's Main Event in Boston, but his last match would be at Survivor Series in San Diego? Give me a break. They're having SmackDown in Boston in a couple days. I think next week. He's not on that show, I don't think, and there's a reason for that because they're saving his last match for Boston in December. If they don't have him wrestle in Boston, even if you're right, that would be insanely stupid. Why would they not have his... they should build that entire show around his last match. That'd be ridiculous. What are you even talking about? I am convinced that you have zero idea what you're talking about. Because you also are saying, you said to Johnny, that Kieran Cross is doing his book tour, which is being paid for by TKO. I don't think it is. It's not a WWE book. It's his own press tour that was put together by him and his publisher. I don't think WWE has anything to do with it. I know a bunch of people that interviewed Kieran Cross for his book. WWE is not involved whatsoever. You're catching a lot of strays here, pal, for a lot of just stupid information. The neck injury. He's not wrestling in Boston. You are delusional, my friend. I appreciate you joining, but you should probably stop saying dumb shit. Fernando said, should John Cena retire on Saturday Night's Main Event in Boston and run a major PLE? It should be a major PLE so we don't have to deal with the goddamn commercials, but it probably will be a Saturday Night's Main Event. Regardless, it is in Boston. His last match will not be in fucking San Diego, and then they'll advertise one more date in December, but it won't be his last match. We'll just throw Kumbaya for John Cena. What are you talking about? You thought John Cena buried Bray at WrestleMania 30? Yes, Nathaniel, he did, because he took him a very long time to recover. Bray Wyatt absolutely should have won that match at WrestleMania 30. The man was buried. He was legitimately buried by Cena by steel steps at Payback a couple months later. Bray Wyatt lost that match, and it was never the same. He had an amazing entrance on that show. The match was okay. Then he fucking lost. Oh, he won the next month with interference in a cage match. No one gave a shit. Yeah, he went on to thankfully recover and win world championships, but he was never the same. He had to create a whole other character because the Colt character was dead in the water after WrestleMania 30. Again, he was basically an upper mid-carder at that point. He would even headline pay-per-views, but it was never the same. Johnny said Luke Harper had way better matches than Bray. Well, obviously, Luke Harper was amazing. He was a much better wrestler than Bray Wyatt. I thought Bray Wyatt's first ever match was against The Miz. No, his first ever match on the main roster was against Kane at SummerSlam 2013. I mean, even if it was against The Miz, he had matches with The Miz. They weren't great, but he had matches with The Miz. I hated Seth versus Fiend in the Hell in the Cell match. Yeah, that match was terrible. It's one of the worst matches of the last 10 years. Just garbage. Just terrible finish specifically, but the match itself was no better. Grunt said the only other great feud he was a part of was him and the Wyatt family against The Shield. Yeah, I mean, obviously that one, but that was like a 3-week feud, but that was also a great feud as well. Let's see. Let's backtrack a little bit here. Yeah. Richie said that Universal is spewing more nonsense than Dave Meltzer. I mean, that might be Dave Meltzer's burner. I don't know. That might be Dave Meltzer. I mean, and Dave Meltzer, I don't know, would waste his time in this chat, but spewing a lot of nonsense indeed. Yeah, exactly. Ask Goldberg about retiring at Saturday night's main event. Exactly. He was not happy with that. John Cena probably will also retire on Saturday night's main event, but they shouldn't. Like, instead of announcing a pay-per-view for September, maybe just do that show in December. Ooh, what a concept. Maybe they still will. But like that show in September that's rumored is a complete waste of time. No need for it. Just have a pay-per-view on August 31st and October 12th. There's no reason to have one in September opposite of All Out. It's just stupid. And the worst part is, Alexis and I might be away that weekend. I don't want to have to watch 2 pay-per-views when I get fucking back. So for personal reasons, I don't want to have to deal with a WWE pay-per-view on September 20th because I might not be around. But anyway, yeah, just do the pay-per-view in December. I think Cena should lose his last match to you guys. Yes, I do. I do think he should lose his last match. Could he win it? Sure. I mean, if he's facing Gunther, and I mean, it's either against Brock or Gunther. Maybe he loses to Brock and he gets the win back. What a waste of time. Please do not waste this John Cena retirement tour on rematches. I know they did the rematch with Rhodes. I was fine with that because the first match was not great. The rematch was great. That was the only situation where it made sense. Do not do multiple matches with John Cena. Unless it's a great match, like the match with Punk, that I'd be fine with them running that back. I don't think they will. But please do not do 2 matches with Brock. I would just ended the run against Gunther, have Gunther beat him, and then move on. If he beats Gunther, I'm like, bro, what are we doing? Gunther should not be losing to John Cena. I know people will be okay with it because he's retiring, but it still makes no sense. Grunt said, so I got an idea of what you can do with Swerve and Ospreay for the next little bit to kill time until All In next year. They should win the tag titles. I think we can agree Cope and Christian don't need a long run with the belts, so they can drop the belts in November or December. I mean, that depends if they even win the belts in September at All Out. They might just wrestle it All Out, but not actually challenge for the titles. I just feel like that's too soon, by the way. All Out at this point is in a month. So Cope and Christian have to reunite and then earn an opportunity at the tag titles in a month. That feels way too rushed. They should team it All Out in Toronto, but at this point, you don't need to waste 2 moments in one match. You can have them reunite and face probably the now former Patriarchy, Nick Wayne and Kip Sabian, on All Out, and then win the tag titles from FTR soon after. They don't have to do it on that same show. But as far as putting the tag titles on Swerve and Ospreay, I don't really think that's not a bad idea. I'd be okay with that. I think they're better than that, but it's not an awful idea. He also said then Swerve and Ospreay can have banger matches with teams like Jet Speed, FTR, and the Bucks until they drop them in time for the Owen Hart Cup, which I think Ospreay should win. I agree with all of that. I just don't like the idea of another makeshift team winning the tag titles. They should really build that division around an actual team, like the Hurt Syndicate. I think the tag division has been fine. It's not been overly exciting, but it's been fine. But at least they're an actual team. Like the Hurt Syndicate are an actual team. Swerve and Ospreay are not. They would just hold the titles like Ospreay or Omega and Page did, and they were a great team. But I don't know. I would rather they just build around an actual team. But otherwise, your idea isn't a bad idea. Johnny said, how do you feel about the matches Nigel McGuinness has been involved in AEW? They've been good. I'm happy he's even been allowed to wrestle. I mean, it was a bummer. I was really pulling for him to wrestle in WWE because that was always his dream. And they never put him in one match. He was always just a commentator. And I know he's obviously not going to wrestle a match on Raw or SmackDown. They never gave a shit about that. But it would have been cool if he wrestled a match like on NXT, or specifically NXT UK. I mean, the opportunities were there. They did not do it, and that really pissed me off. AEW brought him in. He's an amazing commentator. I'm glad he's in AEW. And to Tony Khan's credit, they let him wrestle. And he had the match with Daniel Bryan, which was, it was a good match. I was disappointed by the bill. The whole thing was rushed, and Daniel Bryan wasn't even there. I'm glad that he did it, though. I'm glad they even did the match. Then he wrestled the final battle. He wrestled recently at Double or Nothing. I think that's it, though. I don't know what other matches he may have had. Or he was in the All Out match. He was in All In last year in the Gauntlet, the Casino Gauntlet, which was cool, too. But yeah, the guy could still go. So if he's going to win that 4-way on Dynamite this week to face Zack Sabre Jr., which he absolutely should fucking win on Wednesday. He's wrestling on Wednesday in a number one contenders match where the winner faces Zack Sabre Jr. for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at Forbidden Door. Fuck yeah. I'm totally down for that. And I'm looking forward to that. Nathaniel said, I think Cope and Christian can win the tag titles later in the year, but we'll see. Or early next year. There's no rush. Johnny said, the trios division has not been good. Yeah, no shit. I mean, that trios division it's been non-existent for the last year plus. I think they debuted the trios division way too late because they had a lot of great trios when AW first started, like Death Triangle and Best Friends, Inner Circle, The Elite. And then they debuted them at a time where they didn't really have a whole lot of trios. And the division, like the belts have been defended maybe once in the last 4, 5, 6 months. I don't know. I would just ditch the belts. I just feel like they're a waste of time. Richie said, would you have any interest in seeing Cena versus Uncle Howdy as a tribute of sorts to his feud with Bray? Personally, no. I feel like the match would not be good. As a tribute to Bray, I could see, but first of all, it would have to be on SmackDown. It would also just be random. I'd rather see AJ face someone new. I know this is more random because they have nothing to do with each other, but I'd rather see him work Braun Breaker or Carmelo Hayes. That's the random match I was referring to. Or Gunther. I'd rather see Cena versus Breaker, Hayes, or Gunther over Uncle Howdy. I'd rather see Cena run it back with AJ Styles before he works with Uncle Howdy. So me personally, I'm good on that. He also asked, can you see that being Cena's last match, or how would you book his last match and against who? At this point, like I said, Gunther, and Gunther retires both Goldberg and Cena in the same year. At this point, I feel like that's the match that would make the most sense. When we were kind of talking about it a year ago, we were talking about the idea of maybe, not Brock. I really don't care to see Cena and Brock for Cena's last match. I don't really care to see that match at all. But for Cena's last match, I don't really care, personally. Maybe Punk, maybe Orton, but they already did those matches, so that's not going to happen. I'd rather just see him put over someone new. We also said Cody Rhodes, but he's worked with all of those people and has beaten all of those people and just lost to Cody Rhodes recently at SummerSlam. So they're not doing that match again. Yeah, I would probably have it be Gunther. Gunther just beats him, and you move on. And the idea being that Gunther hopefully benefits from beating both Gunther and Cena in their final ever matches. What a fucking feather in the cap that would be. Nathaniel asked, how long do you think Kyle Fletcher should be TNT champion? Hopefully for a while, just because he just won it, first of all. And second of all, the TNT title's been such an afterthought for so long now. They got to keep the belt on him for a while and make him an actual defending champion on Dynamite, not just Collision, on Dynamite. Adam Cole's run, Daniel Garcia's run, Jack Perry's run were all completely forgettable. I'm sorry. I'm glad that all three of them won the belt, but their runs were very forgettable. That TNT title has not felt important in a very long time. Hopefully Kyle Fletcher can help with that because he is very good and he is on his way up. He's on the ascent. So hopefully he's champion for a while and has an actual run with it and doesn't just, defend it on Collision every couple of weeks. He has to have important defenses on Dynamite and on pay-per-view. Facing Tomohiro Ishii on Collision is not enough. But for a first title defense, I thought it was fine. Grunt said, I also think Swerve goes back heel after All In next year when Ospreay wins the title. Maybe have Swerve fail to beat Page at Double or Nothing, while Ospreay wins the Owen Hart Cup to build tension. Yeah, that would be fine. I could see that. I could see Swerve going back heel before that because it kind of feels like he's directionless. He's been going around from feud to feud all year, and it's been very random. Like he was working with Ricochet, he was working with Bobby, he was working with who else did he work with? The Bucks, and now Okada. There's no he finished the story with Adam Page, if you want to say that, and All In by helping him win. But other than that, he really hasn't had much direction at all. It's been very random, so maybe going heel would help. Richie said, Gunther's stock in WWE is insanely high, getting to retire 2 stars that will put him in a completely different league above so many other superstars. That man's resume is already immense. Yeah, no, he's already, they tout it all the time. He's been a champion for 80% of the time that he's been in WWE. Taking time off right now, he busted his nose up, I think even prior to SummerSlam, but I think the time off is well-deserved. I think having him beat both Cena and Goldberg in their final matches is awesome. I think it's well-deserved. He was already world champion for a number of months. He was intercontinental champion for almost 2 years. He's obviously the best success story under Triple H. It's not even close. He was called up under Vince, but he's been booked entirely under Triple H for the most part. Vince only booked him for 3 months before he got canned, and then the rest has been Triple H. Triple H got him right. He got a lot of people wrong, but he got Gunther right, so for that I am grateful. Would you want to see Bobby Lashley versus MJF, Nathaniel asked? It's not exactly a match I'm clamoring for. I feel like it'd be fine. It's a fresh match. I'm not sure how great that would be. Does MJF go babyface? What's the point of that? You know what I mean? I don't really understand. The whole Hurt Syndicate thing where he was with them, I don't know why they would even care to have him. But they were doing the whole Sami Zayn bloodline thing where he's an honorary Hurt Syndicate member. And then they kicked him out within a month or two. Unceremoniously in a backstage segment. So weird, dude. It wasn't really a story I cared all that much about to begin with. But they rushed the whole thing, and now it's over? It's very weird. As a match, cool. I don't really care, to be honest with you, but it's cool, I guess. Honestly, I didn't really think about this, but FTR is feuding, or they want to face Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles. I don't know if they're going to win this number 1 contenders tournament, but if they do, they face the Hurt Syndicate for the tag titles at Forbidden Door. What would make sense is MJF costing the Hurt Syndicate the tag titles and reuniting with FTR as the Pinnacle. Now, I don't know if we're getting Wardlow back. That seems to be a lost cause. That man's been off TV since, I don't know if he's been on TV since then. When he faced Samoa Joe for the AEW World Championship in Boston in March of last year, I think that might have been the last time he was on AEW television. That was a very long time ago. I don't know if he's ever coming back. I know he was on the fucking, not American Ninja Warrior, but Gladiator or whatever. I heard he might be back soon. Okay, yeah, seeing is believing. And I don't even really know why in storyline Wardlow would want to go back to working with MJF considering he was such an asshole to him. And they were never really friends. It was always more of a business relationship. My point is, I think a trios match with FTR and MJF versus the Hurt Syndicate would make sense. And honestly, that probably makes more sense than Wardlow getting involved because it's 3-on-3. You have MJF, Shelton Benjamin, and Bobby versus, MVP and Bobby and Shelton versus MJF and FTR. I feel like that would make sense. All right, so on that note, I'm going to go to the scheduled questions, answer these, and then afterward, I will go back to the chat, and we will answer any questions you guys got in the chat before we head on out of here. However long that takes. Jordan B., and like I said earlier, all questions, by the way, you could send in from Facebook, X, YouTube. Send them in ahead of time. I will answer them here on the show as we go along. But Jordan B. from YouTube asked, what is your favorite underrated Roman Reigns match? He says, mine is his match against Buddy Murphy on the August 13th, 2019 edition of SmackDown. That's a fucking deep cut. That is a great match. That's a great match. They had a very good match. I remember watching that match and thinking, man, Buddy Murphy, man, push this man. And they did for a little bit in 2020, and then it went nowhere, and they released him in 2021. But he had great matches in 2019. When he moved from 205 Live to SmackDown, he had some awesome matches that year with Ali and Roman Reigns and a few others, and I'm thinking, man, they should really do more with this guy. But it was a good question, so I thought about it. My favorite underrated Roman Reigns matches, and honestly, he's had a lot of underrated matches, but here's a few that I remembered and thought of. 3 from 2021, right off the bat, and they were all during COVID. One of them happened in front of fans, I think. 2 of them did not. The two that did not, and a lot of people recognize this first one as being one of his best matches, but it happened during the Thunderdome, so a lot of people don't go back and watch it. But Daniel Bryan's final match in WWE. It was Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan's contract legit expired a few days later in 2021. For the Universal title, if Bryan lost, he would be banished from SmackDown. And they actually lived up to the stipulation because Bryan did not come back. But that match was amazing. And Roman and Bryan had a lot of matches that year and in 2015, but that was easily their best match ever. And it happened in front of no fans. But I think that's a very underrated match. That same year, he had a Hell in a Cell match on SmackDown, Father's Day weekend with Rey Mysterio. They were supposed to do it that weekend at the Hell in a Cell show, and for whatever reason, they bumped it to SmackDown. I don't know why. But that was a very fun match. It was short. It might have been like 10-something minutes, but I really liked that match. And then he had another match on SmackDown, I want to say, later that year, because the Profits were feuding with the Bloodline and the Usos for like the latter half of 2021, and then going into 2022 as well. He had a match on SmackDown when he was still working SmackDown consistently and wrestling on the show with Montez Ford. Roman Reigns and Montez Ford, I think, had a SmackDown main event in 2021. That was actually a lot of fun and a great showing for Montez Ford. It didn't go anywhere. That should have been when they started breaking him away from the Profits and pushing him on his own. They did not do that, but that was a fun match too. So the other three matches that I remembered, all from different years, other underrated Roman Reigns matches. I don't know if it's underrated, but I thought he and AJ Styles had an awesome match at Extreme Rules in 2016. I was there for that one. They worked really, really well together. That was the same night that Rollins returned from his big injury, and they kicked off Rollins and Reigns for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view the following month. But that AJ Roman match was really, really good. Extreme Rules main event, interference from the Usos and the OC, Anderson and Gallows, the Club as they were called at that time. But a great match from those two. Him and Bobby Lashley, a lot of people forget about this one. Roman and Bobby did have a pair of matches. Only two. They had a triple threat on Raw in 2021. That was good too. But they only had ever two singles matches. And this was when Bobby first came back. He was building momentum. I think he went undefeated for this entire, or like for a few months up until the rematch. But he and Roman had a match at Extreme Rules in 2018, and Roman lost. Roman lost clean, I think. I think it was a big clean win for Bobby, which was awesome. And they had a great match. Now, they ran it back on Raw soon after, and Roman beat him to challenge for the Universal Championship at SummerSlam, which fucking pissed me off. But that first match was great. They never had a rubber match one-on-one, I hate to say. They really should have done that over the Universal Championship during Roman's long Universal title run, but they did not. But still, that Extreme Rules match was really good. And then this might be the most forgettable match of them all, but I really, really liked it. Now, they've had a few matches over the years, including at Backlash in 2021 that you might want to put on this list. I think they had a match on Raw in 2017 as well. But the match that I remember the most was when Roman Reigns faced Cesaro for the first time, I think one-on-one, in 2015 as part of the WWE Championship Tournament. I think Cesaro got hurt like right after, which sucked, maybe even in this match. But his stock was on the rise. He was having great matches. He was really getting over, and then he got hurt. And then he picked up where he left off in 2016. But anyway, him and Roman had a really, really good match on Raw. I remember loving that match on Raw in 2015. So those are my most underrated Roman Reigns matches, my favorites that I can remember. I was also thinking of like other ones that, I would go back and watch. Because I thought, him and Brock, their best matches were their first one and their last one. But I thought their Crown Jewel 2021 match was also really good. It had interference from the Usos and whatnot. But I thought it was a good match. There's probably more, but those are my favorites, I would say. No L from Facebook said, do you see Naomi losing her title at Survivor Series to either Rhea Ripley or Io Sky? I don't think she's champion even by Survivor Series. First of all, like I said earlier, I hope Naomi's okay. She wasn't clear to compete last night. I don't know if she's hurt. Some people speculated she might be pregnant, which would be amazing news if true. I'd rather her be pregnant than hurt, because if she's hurt, then she has to give up the belt, and then we don't, whatever. At least the pregnancy thing would be a positive. Regardless of what happened, if she's not, hurt or pregnant and she can come back soon and she doesn't have to give up the championship, I said from the moment she won the thing that I think she loses it to Rhea Ripley at Crown Jewel in Australia. You can have that close the show if you want, but Rhea's the Australian native. She defended the championship the last time she was in Australia for that pay-per-view Elimination Chamber last year. I think this time she should win it. Now, other people may not be happy with the fact that Rhea's getting the belt back, but that's always the plan. I mean, that's obviously where they're going with this. So that's what I would do personally. and then probably have her hold it till Mania where she could lose it to Stephanie. That would be what I would do. But yeah, no, I think Naomi loses it to Rhea at Crown Jewel, which gives her like 3 months with the championship. Not too long, not too short. I would love for her to be champion longer than that. You know, she defended at SummerSlam. She's supposed to defend against Io Sky at some point. She has a scheduled defense against Stephanie at Clash in Paris. So she gets a few different defenses under her belt before she loses in Australia. I think that makes sense in my opinion. But yeah, I don't think she's championed by Survivor Series, and it would be to Io, or it would be to Rhea rather, not Io Sky. Noel asks, do you think we'll get Team Cena versus Team Lesnar in War Games or a straight-up singles match at Survivor Series? Well, I will combine this with the other question from Fresh Fly, who asked a similar question. He said, if WWE books Team Cena versus Team Brock at War Games without the brand split being applied, who would you put on both sides? So, that being said, let's see. We'll answer the first part of that question first. Do I think we get Team Cena and Team Lesnar? No, I don't. To answer that question right out of the gate, I know that's the headline of the video and what that match would look like. I'll still answer that question. I don't think we get that match. I also don't really want that match. I don't really want Cena wasting his final few months in tag team matches. I know he just had a tag match on SmackDown, but on pay-per-view, he should be having like singles matches. He will wrestle at Survivor Series. I think that's been confirmed. That should be a singles match. If they put him in a War Games match, first of all, I'm not really sure that's smart for his career at this point. I'm not sure he could take a War Games match, to be honest with you. I know he's never had a War Games match, but like him and Lesnar, if the idea, to go back to what I said earlier, the idea of them having a match at that September pay-per-view that's rumored, potentially Bad Blood, I hate the idea of them continuing to feud for the rest of the year. Like they have their match in September, which the only way I'm happy with them doing a show next month, a pay-per-view before Crown Jewel and after Clash, is if they get Cena and Brock out of the way, and then we move the fuck on. And we don't have to drag this out for the end of the year. I would not like that at all. We don't need multiple matches with Cena and Brock. We don't need them in a tag team match. So I don't really want to see Team Cena and Team Lesnar. I could see Cena being in War Games. I'd rather him not. I'd rather him face, almost anyone one-on-one. Even if it was Lesnar. I don't think Cena and Lesnar happens at Survivor Series. I think it could happen at Crown Jewel or in September at the Bad Blood show if they do it. Or even his last match. I think Survivor Series is unlikely. That said, what would that match look like? And also, I don't think this match happens because Brock has not had a tag team match in like 15 years. I mean, when was the last tag team match Brock Lesnar ever had? In the time that he's been back in WWE since 2012, I don't think he's had a single tag team match this entire time. The last tag team match he may have been at Survivor Series 03. He's been in a Survivor Series elimination tag team match before. That was in 03 against, I think it was Team Angle, right? Wasn't it Team Angle, Team Lesnar? I might be wrong. But, he probably had matches on SmackDown after that were tag team matches. But since he's been back in 2012, he has not wrestled a single tag team match. The only tag team match that was teased with him was him teaming with Cody against Roman and Solo on the post-WrestleMania Raw 2 years ago, and obviously, as we know, that did not happen. He attacked Cody instead. But yeah, I would probably just do, if you were to do that match, for all the reasons I would not do that match, and I don't think it's going to happen, what would that match even look like? Like them recruiting their own people wouldn't really make, like what would Team Lesnar even look like if he was recruiting other people? I think they would just merge that feud if they were to do it with an existing feud. So, like, for example, I think it would be Brock and the Vision. I think it would be Brock, Seth, Braun Breaker, which would be a hell of a visual. Braun Breaker and Brock Lesnar teaming up. And Bronson Reed, which is a fucking hell of a team, versus Cena, Punk, who would be feuding with Rollins. And, you can have, you could also use that as an excuse to reunite Brock and Heyman one last time. Maybe temporarily, or lead that into a Brock Heyman alliance again. Because it's coming at some point. They'll reunite eventually. Before Brock calls it a day eventually. But that would give you an opportunity to reunite Brock with Heyman for a little bit, if he were to team with the Vision, against Cena, Punk. So no, we may not get Cena and Punk one-on-one again, but at least you would get Cena and Punk teaming again. That would be awesome. Cena, Punk, Roman. You can also use it as an opportunity to have them team up for the first time in almost 10 years. And I wrote Jey Uso You could put LA Knight in there or Sami Zayn. Any of those guys would make sense. But if you put any of them in there, you would also need a fifth person for Team Lesnar. I don't know who that fifth person would be. That's why I would not put either Sami or Knight on that match. I don't think Knight still is feuding with the Vision by that point anyway. He might be. I don't know. He probably will continue to lose. But that's why I would not put Knight in that match. So if it were to be 4-on-4, if this match were to happen, which it's not, and I don't really want to see it, I feel like that would be a cool attraction. Brock Lesnar with the Vision, all of the Vision, Rollins, Breaker, and Reed, versus Cena, Punk, Roman, and Jey Uso, the Avengers of WWE. Personally, I feel like that'd be really cool, but like I said, that's just me. At Ubagu91 from Twitter, when Ricochet announced his intention of forming his own group to reach success in AEW, did you think that AR Fox could have joined him before being deemed unworthy? No, I did not think AR Fox was going to join. They kind of had an opportunity to put AR Fox in a group, the Swerve Strickland group a few years ago, and then I think AR Fox fucked up, like he didn't have his passport or something for All In, so they had to write him out of the group, and he never recovered. He's been on TV a bunch, and I think AR Fox is great, but they've not even bothered to attempt to push him since then. The guy's just an enhancement dude, so no. I don't really think that would send the right message anyway, because if you're putting that guy in your group, then they're just losers. Like, again, I like AR Fox a lot, but I just feel like Ricochet's also beaten him enough to where it doesn't even really make sense. They're established rivals. So, no. I don't think the Ricochet group needs a fourth guy. I think Ricochet, the focus of the group should be Ricochet. I don't even really like Gates of Agony being with Ricochet because they were already with Brian Cage. So it's like just push them on their own and not put them with Ricochet, but whatever. The focus should be Ricochet, so have them just manage Ricochet and do the physical work for Ricochet, and I feel like that makes sense. AR Fox is also too similar to Ricochet in terms of their styles, so I don't really feel like that's a good fit. His second question, your thoughts on the woes the Young Bucks are currently going through after losing their VIP positions. I think it's great. Honestly, it's one of the more entertaining things that AEW is doing right now. I didn't think in 2025 I'd be putting entertaining and the Bucks in the same sentence, and then their matches are good, obviously. Their matches are very good. But as far as what they do on TV, the character stuff has been awful for so long now that I have not given a shit about what they've been involved in for a while. But the whole them being down on their luck and like the jobber entrances and shit, I think has been very entertaining. They've been doing a very good job with it. I don't know how long it's going to last, but for right now it's been good. So I've been digging it. His third question, do you see MJF reuniting with FTR now that he's voted out of the Hurt Syndicate? Well, that's where I got the idea of FTR and MJF reuniting as part of the Pinnacle from your question, because that's how I thought about it. I talked about that earlier, but yes, I think that is very likely, actually, and that might be where this is going. FTR and MJF, maybe, I don't know if it's heels or baby faces, I'm not really sure, taking on the Hurt Syndicate. I feel like that'd be a logical match to do. Maybe it all out. That's where you do it. So, yeah, I think that's a very big possibility, and I would not mind that at all. And at millennial_noob from Twitter, who was here in the chat earlier, we'll answer his question now. His question that he sent in from Twitter was, are you surprised by a possible feud between Asuka and Io Sky? I hope that this storyline will be interesting, hopefully, and this will be the best story since the Big Three story ended at a dead end. Was it really a dead end? I mean, they blew off the whole Jade and Naomi thing a few times with those great matches, so I'm not really sure it ended with a dead end. But anyway, and also it's not the best story since that, because the best story with the women specifically, I mean, not even with the women, just in general, Becky and Lyra had an amazing feud. So, I mean, that was better than anything they did with Jade, Naomi, and Bianca, which was also good. But anyway, I am intrigued by the whole Asuka and Io Sky thing. I think the matches could be great. They already had one SmackDown match 2 years ago, and the main event of SmackDown got a ton of time. A lot of people don't remember it, but they did have a match a few years ago for the WWE Women's Championship, and it was a great match. And then Asuka subsequently joined Damage Control, and they've been friends since then. But yeah, Asuka turning on Io out of jealousy, I feel like is the way to go. I'm excited to see where they go with that. But yeah, I think Asuka and Io is a great undercard feud for that division that's not over a championship, but it makes sense. I would have liked to have seen it over the Women's World Championship, but they didn't do that. It's fine. You kind of tell the story of where Kairi's allegiance lies. She'll probably align with Asuka. And then out of that, like I said earlier, you could do Asuka and Kairi versus Io and Rhea, with them teaming up despite their bad blood with each other. I feel like that'd be the best story to tell. So, I'm excited by it. Honestly, it's one of the more interesting stories going on Raw right now. That, whatever they might do with Bayley. Not a whole lot else going on right now that really grabs my attention. I like the Vision stuff, but it's pretty, basic booking for right now. But the stuff with the women I've been enjoying. Even Stephanie and, Nikki and Becky. You have Nikki and Becky over the women's IC title. You have Stephanie and Naomi kind of feuding over the Women's World Championship. You got a lot going on with the women right now on Raw, and it's great to see. And I'm into it. I'm in full favor of it. You got my approval. And those were all these scheduled questions. So we'll check back with the chat here. Let's see. Let me backtrack a little bit. Grunt said, speaking of makeshift teams, how long does a new member have to team up together before they are considered a proper team in your opinion? Also, I'm down for reforming the Pinnacle. Yeah, good question. A makeshift team, there's no they have to hold it for they have to be a team for 6 months. To me, if they're to be a proper team, it can't be obvious that they're just teaming to bridge the gap before they feud. So if you put two established single stars together, they're a makeshift team, I'm sorry. But if they go, and also if they go right back to teaming with each other, or feuding with each other, then it's not really a team now, is it? You know what I mean? So, you would have to give me examples, like our DIY a makeshift team? No, because they've been teaming pretty consistently on and off for the last number of months, years, the last 10 years. So they're not a makeshift team. The Profits aren't a makeshift team. The Bucks aren't a makeshift team. Omega and Pave were a makeshift team because they were in the same group, sure, but they never really teamed prior to that, and they never really teamed after that. At least just the two of them. Team Hell No was a makeshift team. They were a great makeshift team. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss are a great makeshift team, but they're still a makeshift team because they're not really a tag team. They're just a tag team for the sake of the story. And you could say, oh, they're not a makeshift team if they have the same gear and theme song. I disagree. I think a makeshift team is when you just put two single stars together, whether it makes sense or not, and then they're a team only for maybe about a year. Less than that. It's never long-term. If they turn into a team and stay a team, then they're a team. They're an actual team. But if they're only just put together out of convenience and just to keep them busy and they go right back to feuding after that, that to me is not a team. And that's what I feel like Swerve and Ospreay would be if they were to be put together. Richie said, I wonder if Triple H's affinity with Gunther is maybe seeing a lot of that old school wrestler vibe in him, maybe even as far as seeing some Killer Kowalski in him. The latter did train with him after all. I completely agree. I do think it's absolutely an old school thing. WWE didn't really have a whole lot of that before Gunther. They kind of, frowned upon people like Gunther as far as, that style and his build and whatnot. They didn't really have people like Gunther in that company. They would have flashy people and, the typical WWE prototype superstars. But they didn't have a whole lot of people like Gunther, but Triple H capitalized on him. He's excelled, and he's obviously awesome. So, yeah, I do think he sees that old school vibe. And in the same way he kind of saw it himself, Triple H modeled a lot of his career around Harley Race, even right down to the look for a little while there in the early 2000s. He likes that old school heel on top for a while, getting heat, whether it's entertaining or not. With Triple H, a lot of the time it wasn't entertaining. With Gunther, it was. I think he sees a lot of himself in Killer Kowalski, Harley Race, and a guy like Gunther, and it's well-deserved because he's very good. Daniel said, damn, I didn't get the notification. Daniel, it said, has also been a member for 4 months, re-up in the membership. Appreciate that, brother. Shout out to Daniel for that. All Access Pass member for 4 months. Shout out to Daniel. Thank you very much. He's the man. And he was who I was texting about the whole Kieran Cross thing, about how funny it would be if they expected people to chant for him, and then they didn't, and then they were like, oh, you know what, actually, we were going to bring you back, but we won't now because people clearly don't care. That would be unfortunate, but it would be funny. Richie said, and Alexis also said, release Wardlow, justice for Wardlow. I agree, let the guy go. If you're not going to use him, then just let him go. At this point, I'm not sure he'd be much better off in WWE, but it's better than not being on TV, right? Him in NXT, I feel like would be a good fit. Him and Obafemi, sign me the fuck up on that. Richie said that Reigns-Cesaro WrestleMania Backlash match doesn't get talked about enough. No, it doesn't. A lot of the matches during that period don't, because they don't have crowds. They don't have actual crowds in attendance. But that Roman-Cesaro match was very good. It was hurt by the fact that it had no fans. But it was cool to see Cesaro in the main event. He was never going to win. His push was over after that. He left the company less than a year later, but they had a great match. They had a great match. It was very, very good. Richie said, even Rollins and Cesaro at Mania. That was also a great match. I was there for that one. That was an amazing match. Let's see. Maria said, should Naomi be stripped of the title? Well, we don't know what's going on with her. Is she, like, seriously hurt? If she's out for months, then probably. If she's pregnant, then obviously. But if she's not out for a long time, or if it was just a one-week thing, then absolutely not. I would only strip her of the title, worst-case scenario. I mean, Naomi, she's doing such great work right now. To pivot away from her as champion, I mean, would just be terrible timing. Maria said, come on, Graham, another Rhea reign. Well, you're going to have to deal with it. First of all, she's as over as fuck. I don't really understand what people expect. I mean, she's so over. I mean, yes, so is Jey Uso. Does that mean you put the world title on him all the time? No. But you have other people that are as over as Jey that makes sense to put the belt on. What else are you going to do? Who else is going to win the championship? Stephanie, I would not put the belt on right now because it's too soon. Stephanie's great. It's too soon. Becky's in the mid-card. Io just held the championship for 4 or 5 fucking months. Didn't really do a whole lot with it. Kind of an abysmal reign. Not her fault. Io was amazing. She had her run. You're lucky Rhea didn't fucking win the belt and didn't hold it longer than 2 months earlier this year. I mean, come on, people. She has not been champion since March. We know she's getting it back, probably in October. Rhea is the biggest star they have. Maybe even male or female. She's going to get the belt back at some point. It's just part of the story. But until then, she can team with Io. So yes, we are getting in the Rhea run. You're just going to have to deal with it. What they do with that run, I don't know. But she will absolutely and should still be champion again. There's just no doubt about it. Grunt said, would I be crucified if I said I never got the hype for Wardlow? I mean, not really. Some people were just never really fans, but I thought he got the look. He can talk. He's a good worker. The way they booked him was terrible, post-MJF feud, but, you know, I thought he had all the makings of a top star for them, and they just never really fully capitalized. Maria said Brock Lesnar's character is that he doesn't play well with others. Tag team match would not make sense. Yeah, I agree with that. That's why it wouldn't make sense, but I'm just saying if it were to happen, that's what it would look like. Grunt said, you are correct. Team Lesnar, which was Lesnar, Big Show, A-Train, Nathan Jones, and Matt Morgan. What a fucking team, by the way. Versus Team Angle. Angle, Benoit, Cena, Bradshaw, and Hardcore Holly. Now, the thing with that, was it Brock's last tag team match ever? Did he have a tag team match televised on SmackDown before he left the company in early 2004? That would be my other question. You can easily look that up. I could look it up right now, but I'm going to leave that to Grunt or whoever. Was that the last tag team match Brock had? Because if it is, that was 12 years ago, which is crazy. I feel like he had to have had at least one tag team match on SmackDown after that, but I could be wrong. Yoey Spingucci, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining. He said, have you heard of Io and Asuka allegedly having or previously having beef? I feel like I have heard of that. Wasn't it not recently in Japan or in WWE, but previously in Japan? That's where they had an issue with each other. I might be wrong. That sounds familiar for some reason. Obviously, it's not that big of a deal because they've been, friends on and off on WWE. And just because what you see on television doesn't necessarily make it real. Well, they've posted a lot of stuff together. They were in Damage Control together for a while before Asuka got hurt last year. So I don't think they have any beef now. Also, it's impossible to hate Io. It's very impossible, very difficult to not like Asuka as well. They may have had issues in Japan before they came to WWE, but that was so long ago. I don't think they have beef now, but I could be wrong. I don't know him personally. Daniel said, I was disappointed in Quebec there were no cross chants. Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I wasn't disappointed in the crowd because the crowd was great. The crowd was great all night. Clearly, they do not care about Kieran Cross or know well enough about the situation to chant for him on the show. Would I have liked to have heard Kieran Cross chants? Yes. Did we get any? Nope. Not a single one, to my knowledge. That sucks, but they clearly don't care. There it is, the pivot. It's always about the pivot, brother. Daniel said, my GOAT, Shawn Michaels, showed out in that one. Yeah, talking about because Grunt mentioned my all-time favorite Survivor Series elimination match happened on the same night, Team Austin and Team Bischoff. That show is one of RJ's favorites because it happened, I think, on his 10th birthday. That match is also, if not his favorite match of all time, one of his favorite matches of all time. Team Austin and Team Bischoff. If you ask RJ about it, he will gush about it for an hour. He loves that match, and it is a great match. I understand why. Richie said, I want the injury report on Naomi to be that she accidentally ran over her foot with her briefcase scooter that she's been using. Just something silly to keep herself getting over. Yeah, I hope so. Hopefully it's something dumb, even if whether it's real or not, they can blame it on that. That would be great. The scooter thing I think is funny. Richie said, although that may come across as similar to what happened to Dom, what Dom was doing to get out of wrestling AJ. Yeah, it's true. It might be too similar. Or it's like a dumb injury. You might be right on that. Daniel said, I question the people that are confused at why Rhea is in the spot that she's in. Like, do y'all not hear the loud as pop every time brutality hits? I mean, listen, I don't think it's people that are confused. I think it's people that just don't like it. I don't really understand what you want. What else would you rather have her doing? Yeah, having an undercard feud with a non-title feud would be nice. She doesn't have to be constantly challenging or defending the championship. I agree with that. But I don't know. I mean, she challenged for the belt at Evolution. She wasn't in the title mix after WrestleMania. She's not in the title mix right now. She's the biggest star on their show. So they should have feuds with her that are not over the title. But if she wins the belt back, it's not the end of the world. I did not really want to have her win the belt back at Evolution. I was ready for it. I accepted it. Didn't really hate the idea. It's not that big of a deal. People act as if she, like, her winning the belt back is as bad as, like, Jinder Mahal being champion again. Bro, I mean, Rhea's had very good matches. She's a great wrestler. I don't really know what people expect, to be honest with you. I mean, needs to develop the character a little bit more, sure. But Rhea getting the belt back is hardly a big deal. Mamadou said, hi, Graham. Hi, chat. Mamadou, hope you're doing well. We're about to wind down, but thanks for joining in. He said, what happened to Naomi? I don't know. She wasn't cleared to compete. We don't know. We don't know if she's hurt. We don't know if she's pregnant. We don't know if she had a case of the flu. We have no idea. She might be sick. Don't know. But she was supposed to face Io Sky last night to defend the Women's World Championship. She was not cleared. Match did not happen. We do not know what happened to her. Hopefully she's okay, though. And hopefully she's back and does not have to give up the belt, because that would suck. Grunt said he did have a few tag matches with Big Show leading up to Survivor Series, so it's possible they had one or two more afterwards. I'll check. Daniel Malcolm said, Survivor Series 03, Limp Bizkit, Build a Bridge, awesome theme. Yeah, I'm not familiar. Not familiar with that one. I'm familiar with some of the Limp Bizkit songs they used in the early 2000s, but not Build a Bridge. I liked Ugly more. I don't know if that was Survivor Series. I think that might have been Survivor Series 04 by the X's. That's a great song. I think that was Survivor Series 04, if I'm not mistaken. Not 03, but you're probably right. The Build a Bridge one is a great song. I mean, I haven't heard it. I'm just assuming by Limp Bizkit, it's probably a great song. Jinder Mahal being champion again is not a bad idea, Richie says. I might have to stop watching. He killed SmackDown for like a good 6 months as champion. It was pretty fucking bad. Richie said, he's my friend. We rode the elevator during Mania 40. Hey, again, my neighbor's my friend too. Don't want to see him as WWE champion. Magic Plumayer, what's going on? Hey, Graham, is Batista for the John Cena? No idea what you're talking about. You're going to have to reword that because that question makes no sense. You bring back Limp Bizkit, enough of The Weeknd. Why not have both? The Weeknd's great. Limp Bizkit was great. I don't know what Limp Bizkit's doing in 2025, but if they could use one theme by them, that would be cool. But I like The Weeknd too. Do they have to use The Weeknd as much as they do? No, but I think his Mania themes have been largely very good. Grunt said he did, in fact, have a couple more tag matches on SmackDown after Survivor Series, a 2-on-3 handicap match, teaming with Matt Morgan and Rhino against Cena and Benoit. So there you go. He had tag team matches after Survivor Series 03, Brock did, but really he has not had a tag team match in WWE television since 2004 at least. Fernando, or also Grunt said, tag team match with Big Show against Cena and Guerrero on the Go Home SmackDown from No Way Out 04, which was his last one. So if he were to be in Survivor Series War Games this year, that would be his first tag team match since 2004, well over a decade ago. Fernando said, how far of a push should Roxanne get? All the way to the top. Don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if they would build around her as like the star of that division. Roxanne might be the best women's wrestler they have outside of Io Sky. Honestly, like bell to bell, she might be the best they have. I don't know if they would ever build around her the same way they would have like Stephanie to an extent. I think she's great though. So hopefully she gets an aggressive push at some point down the road. And Richie said, bring back Flo Rida for WrestleMania. I like the Flow Rider themes. I'm probably in the minority, but Flow Rider had, what was it? Good Feeling, I think, for Mania in 28. I like that one. I think they used it again for Survivor Series. I think they used Good Feeling twice for Mania, and they had it for Survivor Series a few months earlier in 2011. My House they used in 2016. I remember that one for 32. I thought that was a great song. They used Give Me the Green Light or whatever it is. I really like that song with Lunch Money Lewis or whatever the fuck. I like that one. They've had a lot of Flo Rida songs. Going Down for Real, GDFR. They used that for SummerSlam in 2014. Don't ask me how I remember all this, but I liked all of those songs. Daniel said, as much as I loved Mania 40, I was so fed up with the Weeknd song they used that year. It's 5 a.m. It's 5 a.m. my time again. Is that how the lyrics go? I don't remember. Or however it went, he said. You know, hot take, and I said this to Alexis, I feel like all the Weeknd songs, I forgot the one that they used, or Timeless this year was good. But before Timeless, I feel like every Mania song they used at the Weekends was progressively worse than the last one. And I think all of his music is good, most of it. But like, I think Blinding Lights was the best one. And then whatever they used the following year, Save Your Tears was great. It's not Blinding Lights, but it was still great. And then they used Sacrifice, I think, for 38, which was good, but it wasn't as good as Save Your Tears or Blinding Lights. And then 39, I forgot what they used. Maybe Gasoline. I think that was last year, right? Didn't like Gasoline. Take My Breath, they did not use for Mania. They used that for a Crown Jewel, though. I forgot what they used for 39. Alexis can enlighten me. But I feel like every theme they used was weaker than the last. Although Timeless I did like, though. It's better than Fiend. God, Fiend is I'd be content if I never heard that fucking song again. Or saw Travis Scott again. I mean, even Daniel just said, Fiend is still stuck in my head. At least they're using, for Mania next year, they're not using Fiend. They were using Fiend in the early advertisements for that show. And they've already aired advertisements for Mania next year, and they're not using Fiend. Thank God. Hopefully this falling out, whatever falling out they had with Travis Scott, means we will never have to hear that song on WWE television again. What's your favorite Survivor Series elimination match, Fernando asked. Favorite Survivor Series elimination match? Good question. Favorite? I mean, this is going to be a dumb one, but I thought the build was great. The match was very well executed. I love watching the match. Team Cena or Team WWE? Team WWE or Team Cena versus Team Authority. I love that one. That was probably my favorite one they've done since I've been a fan in 08. None of the ones in 08, 09, 2010, 2011. There were some of the ones on like Team Orton, Team Barrett, Team Orton, Team Ziggler, or Team Foley, whatever. I like those, but they're not my favorites. 2013 was like the Shield or whatever. I like that one, but they're not my favorites. 2014 Team Cena and Team Authority was great. None of the brand split ones, like the brand supremacy matches, didn't love a lot of those. Although the one in 2016 I thought was very good overall. And then they got rid of them. So, Team Austin and Team Bischoff, don't know if it's my favorite, but that's a great one. Obviously, the Alliance and Team WWF, not my favorite, but it's a very good one. Yeah, Team Raw and Team SmackDown in 05 I liked. Honestly, it might be. It's probably my favorite one is probably Team Cena, Team Authority. I don't know what other one I've watched more than that one. I don't know what other one I like more than that one. There's other ones that are better than that one, sure. My favorite one is probably that one. I'm trying to think of like, O2 is my favorite Survivor Series show. There was no elimination tag team matches on that show, like the traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team matches. Yeah. Honestly, it might be Team WWE versus Team Authority, and then Team Bischoff and Team Austin. Might be my top two favorites. Let's see. Green Light was a great song, Richie said. I think I'm in the minority too. LOL, I'm with you on remembering when they used those songs too. I don't know how I remember. I could not tell you any pay-per-view themes from the last 5 years outside of WrestleMania. A lot of the music they've used since 2020 has been largely fucking awful. But I remember a lot of the pay-per-view themes they were using. Honestly, for as bad as the product was during those years, they had a lot of great pay-per-view themes in 08, 09, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014 even. A lot of good pay-per-view themes during those years. How no wrestling promotion ever used a Foo Fighters song for a pay-per-view theme song is beyond me, Average Grunt said. Maybe that was because their rate is too much. I don't know. Maybe because they charge too much money. I don't know. We're just big old marks, brother. That is true, Richie. Do I like resiliency? Don't know what that means. Gonna have to enlighten me. Is that a band, song? No idea. We have an injury issue all over wrestling with our huge stars, Fernando said. Yeah, a lot of injuries right now. Daniel said, it'll be a while before we ever hear a Travis Scott song in WWE. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. John Cena's last opponent being Travis Scott. Thoughts? I mean, I hate it, but the only reason I would like it is if Cena spent it just destroying him for 5 minutes, then it might be worth it. Was Matt Morgan a huge flop in wrestling? Yes. I mean, I thought Matt Morgan might be a much bigger might have been a much bigger star than he was. Not even in TNA. Like, even in TNA, you would think, oh, he would win the world championship. He wasn't. He flopped out of WWE. He was there barely. He was on Tough Enough, and they hired him, and it looked like he had potential, and they fired him. Then he went to TNA for a long time, and they never really pulled the trigger on him. Like, he had some big high-profile matches, but he fizzled out every single time. And I don't know if it was a case of him not being good enough or the booking didn't work out. He went into politics, and now he's like a fucking mayor, or at least he was. So he's had far more success outside of wrestling than he has in wrestling. So good on him for that. Daniel said, Alliance versus WWF was great, but that ending in another Austin versus Rock match speaks volumes on the issues with the Invasion storyline as a whole. Yeah, it's still one of the worst storylines they've ever done. One of the biggest, most disappointing flops in company history. Less Than Zero, that was the name of the song. Thank you, Alexis. She said, Less Than Zero was good too. Yes, that's what the name of the song was. So, Blinding Lights, in my opinion, she disagrees. Blinding Lights was the best song they used at the Weekend for Mania. Then Save Your Tears, which was, like I said, I think they got progressively worse. So they went from Blinding Lights to Save Your Tears, Sacrifice, Less Than Zero, Gasoline, and then Timeless. Not counting Timeless, I don't know where I would rank that one. Probably over Gasoline. I did not like Gasoline as a WrestleMania theme. That just kind of felt like they were pushing it. But the other Mania themes I thought were good, but I just thought they got progressively worse. Honestly, at this point, I hope they continue to use weekend songs, because at this point, it's a bit. It's a running gag. It's fucking hilarious. And the music isn't awful, so I'm not going to complain. Let me see. Yes, Travis Scott versus Cena would be hilarious. Yeah, that was obviously that would be very funny if they actually did that match. Magic Plumeyer said, sorry, Graham, I meant is Batista for the John Cena in terms of a retirement angle perspective? I still don't really understand what you mean by that question. Do you mean is Batista a potential opponent? The answer is no. Because Batista ain't coming back. He wrestled his final match at Mania 35. He's not coming back. In terms of like how they did the retirement, is that what you mean? I mean, Cena's not retired yet, so I'm not sure. And as far as like after wrestling, he'll be fine. Batista's done fine in acting. I think Cena's gotten enough roles. Well, he will also be fine. So I still don't know what you mean by your question. But if you mean like as far as Batista as an opponent, that is 1,000% not happening. Fernand, let's see. Daniel said, remember WWE gave Matt Morgan that stuttering character like he was Bubba Ray Dudley? Yes, I know. That's part of the reason why he flopped. That shit was terrible. Different time in WWE. No, it was not. Alexis said my favorite one was Save Your Tears. It was not. It was not. My favorite WrestleMania song was Blinding Lights. I've said that many, many times. No, my favorite one. She said, I'm sorry. I thought she was talking about me. She said her favorite one is Save Your Tears. Yes. It's a great song. She also said, no, I do think Blinding Lights was the best one. They should have just reused it to get good use out of it. Yeah, because they used it for COVID, the pandemic, when they had no fans. I agree. They should have used it the following year. And they've done that before. They've used multiple Mania themes like multiple times. They used Celebrate by Kid Rock. I mean, both were in New Orleans, but they used it for Mania 30 and 34, so it's not out of the ordinary that they would do that. Emmanuel, what's going on, brother? Thanks for joining. Richie said there's no bigger flop in WWE than Nathan Jones and Luther Reigns. Yeah, they were both awful. Nathan Jones more so than Luther Reigns. Luther Reigns was there for a little bit longer. He might have been tag team champion, I want to say. Nathan Jones was just not good, and that was a complete flop. Well, there probably is, but yeah. I mean, they're up there for sure. Don't know if they're the biggest flops, but they're certainly up there. Chris Harris, remember him in WWE? I forgot what his name was. Brandon Walker. Brandon, I think, isn't that the name of like there's like a, I think his name was Braden Walker. there's a podcaster from Barstool that's name is Brandon Walker. I'm not talking about him, like the Chris Harris character in ECW. That lasted all of like 2 weeks, I think. Grunt said Less Than Zero is my favorite Weekend Mania theme personally. Good song. Not my favorite, but it was good. Let's see. Grunt said Luther Reigns alone is a big knock against the ruthless aggression being considered the greatest era. Yeah. I mean, you could still consider, I mean, come on. I mean, Attitude Era is also considered one of the greatest eras. It's not my favorite era, but for a lot of people, it's considered their favorite era. Every era that you consider your favorite or the best has terrible characters. I mean, Luther Reigns alone does not ruin the ruthless aggression era. For every Luther Reigns, you had the rise of Batista, Cena, Lesnar, Mysterio, Orton, Edge, among others, you know. Attitude Era had Naked Midian. You know what I mean? They had a lot of awful characters, too. Daniel said, my favorite Mania theme was the one they had used in the late 90s that later became Linda McMahon's theme. Yeah, that da-da-da-dun-dun-dun. That was a good Mania theme. I ranked all the Mania themes on WrestleRant Ranks earlier this year. Check it out. I don't know where I ranked that one, but it was pretty high up. Oh, Grunt said, he's correcting me. Thankfully, Luther Reigns never held a belt. That would have been bad. Then who did Kenzo Suzuki hold the tag titles with? Let me know who was Kenzo Suzuki. I thought it was Luther Reigns. He held, was it Rene Dupree? He held the tag titles with someone. Maybe it wasn't Luther Reigns. Resiliency as a theme. Again, is resiliency a song? I don't know what you mean. I can't say it's one of my thoughts on it. I don't know. What is resiliency? Let's see. Daniel said Nathan Jones was so bad they made his Mania tag match with Taker a handicap match. LMAO. Yeah, I don't think we ever saw him again after that. I think he got hurt, and then that was it. He sucked. Emmanuel said, I know I saw your video on Worst Gimmicks Ranked. Did you know Mordecai and Kevin Thorne are the same person? Yes. I don't know if I said that in the video. I did know they're the same person. He was Mordecai in 05. Did not go well. They scrapped it, and then he became Kevin Thorne the following year in ECW. So yes, I did know that. If I did not make that clear, I apologize in that video. But cheap plug, check out that video, Worst Wrestling Gimmicks Ranked, from Monday on WrestleRant Ranks. Thank you, Emmanuel, for bringing that up. Fernando said, triple threat, Cena versus Veer versus Love Ziggler, Tyreek as the special guest referee. I like it. Hashtag book it. That sounds like a great match. Daniel said, I watched that vid. Grunt said, Rene Dupree. Okay, so it was Rene Dupree and Kenzo that were tag team champions. Richie said, I always hated that stupid dance that Rene Dupree would do. Oh, the side-to-side thing. I thought it was great. RJ loves it too. I love the music. Dun da da dun dun da da dun dun da da dun 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 dun. It was like the fucking stock music they would use. Before that, then they gave it to the La Resistance as a theme, but it was like stock music prior to that point. I liked La Resistance. I was not watching at that time, but watching them back, I think the group is great. Rene Dupree, I thought had untapped potential, and then he just went nowhere. I don't know if it was backstage stuff or he was just not good. I don't remember, but I liked Rene Dupree and the dumb dance with the stupid dog Fifi. He had Fifi in his hands. Fifi and the stupid dance. That combined with the theme song, I thought Rene Dupree was... I was very entertained by Rene Dupree. I'm disappointed he did not go further. Daniel said he loved the dance, too. And Richie said, LOL, little Richie always got mad at it. The dance and Rene Dupree. Yeah. Bro got me. He did his job as a heel. You know what's so random? I don't know if you were there, Richie. Northeast Wrestling, the local indie promotion that Richie and I frequent, have not had a lot of shows in the last few years. But they had an indie show. They had one of their events last year. And La Resistance reunited for this show. And honestly, it was amazing. It was like, they're clearly like past their prime 40-year-old guys at this point. And Rene Dupree was young. When he was in WWE, he was like fucking 19, 20. So he must be like 20 years old now. Or I'm sorry, 40 years old. I don't know how that would work. He's like 40-something years old now. The other one's Rob Conway, Sylvania Grenier, excuse me. Probably like mid-40s, late 40s, early 50s. The promoter brought them in for like a 6-man tag where they were managed by, I forgot the guy's name, but the guy with the neck brace from ECW, the manager from ECW. It was so random. I don't think they have had any interaction in WWE or at any point. It was so random, but honestly, it was really funny. Like, they got great heel heat. I don't know if they won. I don't remember. But it was a really fun match. And I don't think I've seen them since. They reunited for this one random indie match last year. And I don't think they've been around since. It was so random. Yeah, the dog. Richie mentioned the dog, too. The dog, yo. Daniel said La Resistance was great, too. Or was great. Too bad Sylvain Grenier pissed off everyone backstage. Yeah, I don't know the lore behind that. I wasn't watching back then, so I don't know what happened with the group. But I think it was all a heat thing as to why that group failed and why they didn't really go anywhere. Grunt said, I'm a French man. This is my French tickler. La, la, la. If that's what Taz said, I don't remember that. That's funny. The French tickler. What the fuck? I'm not familiar with that. Fifi, I miss. Yes, Daniel mentioned Fifi. I'm about to go watch some La Resistance clips. I'm about to go watch La Resistance's Titantron. La Resistance was very entertaining. Taz was great. Yeah, Richie says he does remember this. I don't know if were you at the show, Richie? I don't remember. Or you just remember them doing that. We probably spoke at the show if you were there. I don't remember. Because I think that was Brian Anthony's final show. So you must have been there, actually. Yeah, it was probably, I think it was on that same show, actually. And it was very entertaining. Taz and Michael Cole were underrated as a duo. They were a great commentary duo. Before Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, we had Michael Cole and Taz, and they were awesome. Yeah, Richie said, NEW are the kings of bringing back talent past their prime. They are. Sometimes it's very entertaining. Sometimes it's like, what are we doing here? Fernando said, if Mr. Kennedy never pissed off Cena and Randy, how big of a star could he have been in WWE? I don't think he would have been like a multi-time world champion. I could have seen Mr. Kennedy getting like a one-off world title run, like a Jack Swagger type thing. Hopefully a better run than Swagger. He was always pushed more than Swagger. Swagger was like always a mid-card guy and then won the world title out of nowhere and went right back to the mid-card, undercard. At least Kennedy, they were pushing towards the main event scene before he was supposed to win the world championship. He beat a lot of former world champions. I think he beat Undertaker at one point, Batista, among other people. I feel like he would have gotten a Miz-like run. Like the run that Miz had where he was champion for a while. Now, would have Kennedy been champion going into WrestleMania? Probably not. But I feel like he would have won the championship at least once, like Miz did. Been the champion for a little bit. They had much bigger stars when Kennedy was around, like Cena, Batista, Taker. They were all like still active at that point. So that's why I don't think Kennedy would have been like a perennial main event star. But I feel like he probably would have been champion for a little bit. Lasted longer in the company than he did. Had he not like gotten heat and gotten injured and all this other sort of stuff. I like Kennedy. He actually went on to have a pretty good run in TNA as a multi-time world champion over there. He was with that company for like 6 years. He was with TNA for a long time. So whatever success that he had in TNA, maybe not so much in TNA, but like TNA was a smaller pond. Bigger fish, smaller pond. But like the Miz run, I feel like he probably would have had that sort of run in WWE, in my opinion. Good question, though. Richie said, it's me giggling at my desk right now. Talking about the Fifi thing? Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Emmanuel said, I've actually been watching 04 SmackDown episodes recently. It's an interesting period of creative throwing shit at the wall and just seeing what's stuck. I would love to go back and watch it. One of my goals, I don't think I'll ever get around to doing this because there's just so much. I would love to be able to watch and review every episode of Raw and SmackDown. I have reviewed every episode I've watched since 2011 because that's when I started doing reviews. I've done, sporadic reviews of Raw and SmackDown from prior to that point. SmackDown would be easier because it's been around since 99. But even then, I'd have to go back and watch like 12 years worth of SmackDown. It's a lot, But I'd love to go back and watch all of that because I never was around. I've seen certain clips and episodes, but not every episode. So I'd love to go back and do that at some point. Like a big rewatch, Daniel said, yeah, they were so green and always were messing up. Oh, talking about La Resistance. Rob Conway was added to the group to add a serviceable wrestler to the crew. Renee hated Sylvain back in the day, too. He admitted it on his podcast. That's very interesting. I did not know any of that. Fernando said, what are your thoughts on the Hurt Syndicate refusing to put over talent in AEW? My thoughts on them refusing to put over if that's true, I think that's stupid. They should have no creative say at all. They should have some creative freedom. But if Tony Khan wants them to lose to Jet Speed or FTR, they should fucking lose. Come on. If they're just dominating everyone and then holding on to the titles, I think that's garbage. So I don't know if they have creative control necessarily, but like refusing to put certain talent over, if it makes sense, then get over it. Richie, he said he sent me the Taz French tickler clip. I'll have to check it out when we're done here in a little bit. Daniel said, one of my favorite Renee moments was Rumble 04 when he's doing his dance and Rikishi is doing it right behind him, waiting to kick him out of the ring. That's really funny. I've seen that Rumble, but I don't remember that. That's funny. Brock leaving really threw 04 SmackDown for a loop. Seriously, that's why they put the belt on JBL as quickly as they did. Because they lost Brock. Goldberg they lost to, but he was on Raw. But like Taker, they kind of rushed into the title scene. He was doing the dead man stuff, but they kind of had to put him back in the main event scene because they didn't really have anyone else. Eddie's push kind of fizzled out, and he passed away the following year anyway. Booker T, they had to push towards the main event scene, which he was worthy of. But yeah, SmackDown, they really built that entire show around Brock for a long time. Kurt was hurt for a little while, so he wasn't really around a whole lot in 04. I think he was hurt for the rest of the year, right? Wasn't he around at Mania and then he left? Or he was hurt until like SummerSlam or something like that? So yeah, that was a tough period. Noob said, today is the 9-year anniversary of when Billy Corgan was the president of TNA Wrestling. Everyone remember some moments from that era? Because I don't. Yeah, Billy Corgan was not around in TNA for all that long. He was probably around for a couple of months. Their falling out was in early 2017. So yeah, did he join TNA 9 years ago today? I mean, there was some decent stuff during that period. Like the broken stuff really started during that Billy Corgan era, to be fair. Everything else was largely not great, though. Daniel said, all of a sudden, Bradshaw's a main event level heel. LMAO. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He went from being a tag team guy to then retiring. They retired Farouk, and then Bradshaw was WWE champion within months. To his credit, though, he actually adapted to the role. I never thought Jinder was WWE champion material. I don't know what I would have thought of JBL being champion back in the day, going from tag team to main event guy, because I just wasn't watching back then. But he adapted pretty well to the role, and I thought he had a decent run for a while there before losing to Cena at WrestleMania. Emmanuel said the Dudleys actually had a brief main event heel run between May and June or July of 04. Devon even beat Eddie Guerrero one-on-one. Yeah, that was when they lost to Taker at Great American Bash, right? That handicap match. Yeah, the fact that Dudleys were main event heels in 04 is kind of wild, to be honest with you. Grunt said 04 SmackDown was sadly a significant drop from 02 to 03 SmackDown, particularly post-draft. Oh yeah, the pretty stark difference with some of the people they were pushing from like Luther Reigns and Kenzo Suzuki. That era of SmackDown is largely not good. Daniel said Cena filmed the ring that year, so even he was gone in 04 for a while. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't the main event guy yet. He was just in the mid-card, but yeah, he was gone for a bit too. Grunt said, in my opinion, they should have swapped Booker T and JBL's spots on the roster, have Booker as the heel WWE champion and JBL going after Cena for the U.S. title. I feel like that would have made more sense. I agree with that. The JBL thing worked out well, but I feel like Booker as the heel WWE champion would have been cool. At least we finally got a version of that, though, a few years later, with him as King Booker as the World Heavyweight Champion. He finally got his just due then, so at least he got it at that point. Emmanuel said, Booker T04 is weird because he debuted on SmackDown with a title match against Eddie, and then he immediately got shafted for JBL, LOL. Yeah, that's weird. The booking of SmackDown in 04 is certainly a mystery. Daniel said, as someone who was watching the overnight transition from tag team Bradshaw to heel main event, JBL was jarring. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty abrupt, right? They were a team. I don't know if he was even on WrestleMania 20 that year, and then he was a main event guy within months. Literally like Jinder, who was like in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania on the pre-show, and then he was winning the WWE title like 2 months later. Almost the exact same thing. Let's see. People expecting a similar crowd fan reaction. R-Truth reaction was very unrealistic. To Carrie Cross you're talking about? Yeah, it's not the same thing. R-Truth is way more beloved, established, celebrated, much more longevity than Carrie Cross, who is very good and deserves people chanting for him to bring him back. But R-Truth was a much bigger blow morale-wise than Karrion Kross. I don't think if Karrion Kross doesn't come back, I don't think a lot of the people in the company really care. I like Karrion Kross a lot, I'm just being honest. I don't really think a lot of the people give a shit. Daniel said, Triple H and his ego thinking that Booker T and the Dudleys for him was a fair trade. Yeah, because Triple H was drafted to SmackDown, then he wanted to be drafted back to Raw. It was garbage. He said, yeah, like it takes 3 guys to equal to him. Yeah, Triple H's ego was out of control in 04. Specifically, JBL is one of the worst world champion choices ever. I don't know about that. I mean, Jack Swagger exists. Jinder exists. I'm sure you can think of worst world champion choices than Bradshaw. Not the top choice. I mean, he's not the best choice, but I mean, what other periods were worse? I mean, he might be up there, but he's not number one. Swagger was certainly worse, and Jinder was worse. I'm sorry, you can't convince me otherwise. Miz honestly was better. Del Rio was better, but JBL was not the worst. Emmanuel said, wait, Cena filmed the Marine in 04? I think that's when the movie came out, so he might be wrong on that. I feel like it was 03. Or did the movie come out in 05? I don't remember. Fresh Flies said, I just got here. How much time do we have left? Not much. We're winding down very quickly, actually. We'll be winding down momentarily. We've already been here for like 2+ hours, so. Appreciate you joining in, though. And appreciate your question. I answered it earlier. If you missed all the questions I answered earlier, go back and watch the video from a little bit earlier on. He also said, will you be doing a live watch-along this weekend for AAA, Triple Mania, AAA? No, I don't think I'll even be watching it. I was thinking about it, honestly, like, oh, do I honestly start covering AAA now that WWE owns it? I really don't have any interest. I really don't. I watched Worlds Collide. That was like a co-branded show with NXT, and that was a very good show. But unless they do something like that, I'm not going to start watching AAA. I mean, it's not like the Lucha Libre stuff, but like a lot of they have real storylines. Like I went back and looked at the main events of their shows for the last 5 years. A lot of it's like fucking 6-ways and 3-way tag team matches. It's like, what is this? That doesn't really interest me. I'm not really familiar with a lot of their guys. I really don't care. So unless it's a show that WWE's also like, I know a lot of their guys are in the main event of that show coming up this weekend for the Mega Championship. But no, I will not be doing a watch-along of it. I will probably not even be watching the AAA shows. Unless it's a co-branded show like a Worlds Collide sort of thing, I legit have no interest. I watch enough wrestling as it is. I don't want to add on to that from what I already do. Emmanuel said, I thought Cena only got written out in December during the Carlito Jesus feud. Yeah, I mean, he would know better than I would. I was not watching back then, so I don't know. The Marine came out in 06. Okay. There you go. Daniel said he filmed the Marine in 04, but it didn't come out until 06. There you go. Richie said, great year. What, 06 or what year? What year are we talking about? Let's see. Daniel said, I remember it vividly because it was supposed to be Stone Cold, but he turned it down, and that's how Cena got it. Oh, and the Marine, yeah. And then Stone Cold ended up doing that other movie instead. The movie where they're on that island. They ended up doing that in like 06, 07. So he wasn't that, but he wasn't in the Marine. Him being in the Marine, that would have made sense, to be honest. Fresh Fly said, you don't have to cover the shows every week. I know you got a lot of wrestling on your plate. Yeah, I appreciate that. Just the thing is, I wouldn't even watch the big shows because I feel like I'm just the type of person where if I watch the big shows, I have no real familiarity with their storylines. Now, I do that with New Japan, but only with New Japan. I don't watch their big shows. I only watch Wrestle Kingdom. That's the only show of theirs that I watch. And Wrestle Dynasty, which was earlier this year, the day after Wrestle Kingdom. And Wrestle Dynasty, but that's an AEW show. Or Wrestle Dream, rather, I meant to say. Even with New Japan, I don't go and watch all of their shows. A lot of it just doesn't interest me at this point. It's not as good as it once was. And also, like, there's just too many shows, and I just don't really care. I really don't. I mean, to answer Fernando's question, he said, have you been watching the G1 tournament? No. I only really watch Wrestle Kingdom. I go out of my way to watch that. I've been doing that for the last 5-6 years, but beyond that, I just don't really care. So no, I've not been watching the G1. I will catch the highlights on Twitter, or I'll find out who wins and who's the champion and stuff like that. But yeah, I just don't really follow New Japan closely. I just don't have the time. So yeah, I will not be following it. The Condemned is the movie Steve Austin starred in. Thank you, Noob. Yeah, that was the name of the movie. I've seen that before. That would air on USA Network all the time. I like that movie. Fresh Fly said Freakier Friday today or Weapons. Neither. Don't have a chance to see either one today, but on $5 Tuesday, no less. Appreciate the question. Weapons, I don't know if I'll see. I watched the video on it. I heard it was a great movie. Heard it was great. Not really up my alley. A little bit too freaky for me, but it looks great. Looks very interesting. I've heard great things about it. I don't really care to watch it personally, but I've already watched the video on it, so I kind of already know what happens. Freakier Friday, we'll see. Just because I saw the first one, don't have high hopes for it. We'll see how good it is. I will very likely, hopefully, see that this weekend, if not soon after. So ask me next week. I may have seen it by then. Richie talking about 06. That being a great year. He said, we got She's the Man and Step Up that year. Yeah, I haven't seen either one of those movies. I know what the movies are. But '06 had some good movies. '06 had, what else came out in '06? Leroy and Stitch. For Lilo and Stitch. That came out in '06. What else? Ratatouille was '07. I don't remember what else came out in '06. '08 had some great movies. '07 had some good movies. I don't remember '06 all that well, though. Grunt said The Condemned, a.k.a. the worst crime against humanity, according to Santino Marella. Yeah, when they were promoting the movie on Raw in '07, I remember that. Fernando said, I prefer the Gobbledygooker being world champion than JBL or Jinder. Wow, that's rough. That's tough. Gobbledygooker, wow. Jinder, maybe. JBL, that's just, I don't know, that seems excessive. That seems pretty harsh. Oh, right. Well, Richie said, damn it, Graham. He also said, Final Destination 3, Superman Returns, Saw 3. So first of all, I said Cars came out in '06. How could I forget? I saw that in theaters. Cars was amazing. It's probably my favorite movie that came out in '06. Final Destination 3, I did not watch in '06. I was 11. But I watched it on demand years later. I only watched the first scene when they're on the roller coaster because those movies always start out with like a big incident, like the log truck in the second one, the plane in the first one. I remember the roller coaster thing, got freaked out by it, never finished it. Saw 3 never saw, and Superman Returns I watched recently, did not like that movie at all. Did not think it was very good whatsoever. There are much better Superman movies than that one. I watched all the Superman movies. I watched 1 through 4 with Christopher Reeve, and I watched that one. I watched Man of Steel. I did not love Superman Returns. Tyreek, what's going on, brother? So Graham in all caps. Tyreek, thanks for joining. Better late than never. Still have to answer if I love the greetings. I love the big pop for Tyreek in the chat. Tyreek is returned. Greetings, beloved. Tyreek. By God, Tyreek is back. Tyreek is here. Tyreek, you have to enlighten us on that is the GOAT Tyreek. Tyreek is indeed in the chat. Throw your Love Ziggler. If you guys got the Love Ziggler chats or the gifts or badges or whatever, emojis, throw those in there. Tyreek, you have to answer the question we've been asking since March. Who is Love Ziggler? What is Love Ziggler? What does Love Ziggler mean to you? Tyreek. Alexis said, bro. He always comes in at the tail end. He always does that last minute run. And he's never here at the beginning. He's always here at the very last minute. Yes, Fresh Fly. He is the one who says Love Ziggler. The Tyreek. Exactly. Yeah, there's Daniel with the Love Ziggler. Richie said, how convenient that Alexis is here too. Burn her account. She's working. Exactly. She's working as more than WWE is with Carrie Cross and the Rollins injury. She's a master worker. She's working us into a shoot, brother. Kayfabe lives on. Let me go back a little bit. Weapons is one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, Fernando said. I've heard that too. I've heard Weapons was great. I'm not really a big fan of the freaky stuff. It depends what it is. I saw Speak No Evil last year. I think it was Speak No Evil. Or Hear No Evil, whatever it was. I liked that one. That wasn't like an amazing movie, but I enjoyed that actually. Weapons was a little too seemed too fucked up for me. But I watched the video on it and it seemed interesting. So I don't know if I'll go see it at this point because I know what happens. If anything, I would probably watch it on streaming. There's other movies I want to watch before Weapons, though. But I did hear it was very good. That and Sinners. But yeah, Cars was great. That was my favorite movie of '06. Emmanuel even said '06 is the year of Lightning McQueen. And Daniel said, it's weird. I have so much respect for the JBL character. In retrospect, in that clip of him stopping Mexicans at the border is hilarious. But in real time, I thought the character and Reign were boring. That reign was like that's one clip from like a 9-month reign. So it really wasn't a great run. If you go back and watch SmackDown from back during that period, it's probably not a great run, to be honest. But the border thing is very problematic, but it's hilarious. That's a great clip. That's fucking hysterical. Very problematic, and you can never get away with that now, obviously, for understandable reasons. But that was a great moment. The rest of the run, probably boring. A lot of those matches ending in DQ. He was never really booked strong. Definitely not a great run. Richie said she has 2 browsers open. Yeah, she must. She must. Talking about Alexis. Freshfly said, how would you have booked John Cena's heel turn with what we got starting on March 1st if The Rock and Travis Scott came out to do their jobs? Well, Travis Scott, in my opinion, would have never been involved. If you turned John Cena heel, you would have done it 10 years earlier. Not in 2025, but in like 2010 or 2015. That's when I would have done it. But if you were to do it this year, I mean, Cena's just not a great actor as heel. That's another part of the problem. But Rock and him, Rock would have been around pulling the strings. Maybe you add someone else to the equation, not Travis Scott. You do not book every match with interference. I think the bare bones of a good storyline were there. Cena would have to show up more, not be there every 3 weeks, wrestle on TV more, cut better promos. Rock would be involved. Get Travis Scott the fuck out of there. Yeah, that's how I would have booked it. Tyreek, please explain Love Ziggler lore. Exactly. Tyreek, I think as quickly as he jumped in, he's as quickly just disappeared. Guy's already gone. I don't think he's in the chat here. I think he already disappeared. We scared off Tyreek. Big pop for Tyreek. Greetings were beloved, he said, and then Tyreek ditched. Didn't answer the question. We need a shirt that says Tyreek, arrive, Love Ziggler, leave. Instead of arrive, raise hell, leave. I think that's the shirt that we should do. Freshfly said, also TKO is now out of the $3 billion of debt with their UFC deal on Paramount and the WWE deal on ESPN. Might have to buy some stock. Is that confirmed, though? Might have to buy, is that confirmed they're out of debt? You might just be assuming that, but I don't know if that's like, I heard about the debt they were in and all the money they're now making from these deals, but does that still mean that they're out of debt? I mean, I would love to know from like a Brandon Thurston or a Meltzer, like they would have a better idea than I would. I don't necessarily mean that. I don't know if that necessarily means they're out of debt because they're making that money over the course of like 5-10 years. They're not being paid $1.2 billion tomorrow. So I'm not really sure if that means, I don't personally think that means they're out of debt, but I could be wrong. Richie asking Universal who is Love Ziggler. He can ask all these other questions or answer all these other questions, but he won't answer that. Daniel Malcolm said, Bruce Pritchard tells a funny story of them filming the border stuff. Oh, God, I'd have to check that out. Maria said, ranking the revolving door horseman members? What are you talking about, like the Benoits and the Lugers? I do not have enough information or knowledge of that period of the Four Horsemen to say that, oh, yeah, like it's definitely, I can rank them. I can't. I do not have enough knowledge of that era of the Four Horsemen. Richie said Tyreek is over like Rover. You're talking about Rhea Ripley being over. You listen to those pops that Tyreek gets here in the chat. She has got nothing on Tyreek. Daniel said the Travis Scott involvement and still being approached about the Cena heel turn before even Cena still makes no sense. Like if Travis Scott said he didn't like it, would Hunter have pivoted? LOL. He might, I guess. They were giving him creative control as far as, oh, do you want Cena being involved and all this other shit? Like, who cares? Why are we asking Travis Scott's thoughts on what Cena's heel turn should look like? And then he didn't even show up, so who cares? Emmanuel, thank you. I totally forgot about that. I was trying to think, what movies did I see in 06? That was another one. He said he just looked up the 06 films. Pirates of the Caribbean is apparently the most successful film that year. Dude, Pirates of the Caribbean 2 is goated. That ending is one of my favorite movies, is one of my favorite movie endings in ever. Like, honestly, ever. It's a great ending. I love that ending. If you haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil it, but go back and watch the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. I don't acknowledge 4 and 5. They're not great movies. 5 was awful. 4 was okay. The first 3 are amazing. Specifically, in my opinion, they get better and better. I like the first one a lot. It's great. The second one is excellent. The third one is awesome. It's the best of the 3, in my opinion. But it bleeds into from the second ending. The second ending leads right into the third movie. It's fucking great. So honestly, now that we're on the subject, let me quickly look up 2006 movies. Let me see what I've seen of these movies. Top 06 picks. Facing Giants have not seen. Rest Stop, Babel, Little Children, Poseidon, The Departed. The Departed, I think I started. Don't know if I finished that. Kingsman, The Prestige. I have not seen any of these. The Breakup, Inland Empire. Benchwarmers, I think I saw that one. That movie was fucking awful. Except that I saw it a long time later. Click is great. Can't go wrong with Click. Saw that that year, actually. Amazing movie. The Hills Have Eyes is a great movie as well. I saw that many years later. Pursuit of Happiness I've not seen. Texas Chainsaw Massacre I've not seen. Bring It On, I have not seen. I mean, I've seen it. Or that's not even the first one. That's like the fucking third one or something. Anyway. All good movies. All very good. I think I watched Click the following year, actually. It came out in 06, but I think I watched it in 07. Anyway. Let's see. Rank the revolving door of Judgment Day members, LOL. Well, that I can rank Judgment Day members. Carlito would probably be the last one. I like Carlito, but, you know, I probably would go with Balor. No, Rhea Ripley would be number one. Rhea, Damian, Finn, and then probably Dom. Dom really benefited from Judgment Day, so you could probably put him towards the top. But Rhea, Damian, Dom, then Finn, Edge, JD McDonough, Raquel, Roxanne just started. Liv also is barely. I mean, Liv would probably be towards the top. She's done really well in Judgment Day. It's hard to rank the women. Carlito would be dead last, but yeah, you could rank the Judgment Day people. I could do that. That would be easier for me to do. Reggie said, I really wish 2K had put Travis Scott in 2K25 simply for the fact that we could have had the ability to beat his ass in the game as much as we would have liked to. I mean, that would have been exactly not a bad idea. Maria asked, do you think we'll ever see a crossover from talent from ESPN and WWE? What is talent from ESPN? What does that mean? Stephen A. Smith? Because he's appeared in WWE before. They've done stuff with ESPN in the past, so I don't really think that's all that unrealistic. But are you talking about like sports talent? Like that's not ESPN. That's like the MLB or the NFL, which we already get anyway. So I don't really think the ESPN deal has much to do with that. Maria said, Pirates of the Caribbean is one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. Love that movie. Love all three of them, but specifically the second and third one. Emmanuel said, See No Evil and the May 19th story happened in 06. It did. I forgot about that. I've seen See No Evil. I did not watch it until many years later. Not a great movie. It's a bad movie, but it's one of my favorite bad movies. I enjoy See No Evil. It's a good, bad movie. Maria said, I love Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, but I disagree about At World's End being good, but the first two are sure classics. Yeah, I'm in the minority on that one. A lot of people don't agree. A lot of people say the third one is not good. I disagree. I love the third one. I think it ties up the story perfectly well. A lot of great Pirates lore. That one moment when that guy's walking down the ship as everything is blowing up around him is awesome. One of my favorite cinematic shots ever. It's incredible. And Richie said, At World's End seemed way too rushed. Dead Man Chest is so good, though. I love them both. I think they're kind of like the same movie. They're kind of all connected really well. Again, I'm in the minority. I love the third one. It's one of my favorite movies ever. And I think the second one is also excellent. The second one's more of a transitional movie for the third movie that blows everything up, or really blows everything off, rather, and blows everything up, too. But it's amazing. Great, great movie. We actually watched all three of those not last summer, but 2 years ago. 2 years ago. I think it was the 20-year anniversary of the first movie, so we watched all of them. The first three. Did not watch 4 and 5. I've seen 4 and 5, but we did not watch 4 and 5. Maybe at some point I will. I heard today that Johnny Depp was actually in talks to come back for a sixth one. I don't know if they're rebooting it, but they should just continue it. Rebooting it would be dumb. Just continue it and make it good. Davy Jones still remains some of the best CGI in cinema history. For sure, Davy Jones looked awesome, even back in 06 and 07. Daniel said, 06 also brought us the DX reunion. I was hype at the time because OG DX was before my time, and I never bought Triple H and thought Triple H and Shawn Michaels would reunite after having their blood feud from 02 to 04. Yeah, I mean, the 06 DX is obviously not the DX of the 90s, but one great segment that came from like all the poop jokes and stuff during that period was their when they dressed up as the McMahons. Those, I mean, I love that segment. That segment was hilarious. When Shawn's like going like this, and he's like doing the dance and stuff, and then Triple H yells at him as Vince, and he goes, "Shut up!" And then Shawn like falls down to the ground. It's so funny. That shit is hysterical. Richie said, mid-2000s CG looking better than today's tech is insane. Yeah, no, seriously. 4 and 5 don't exist for me either. Maria said, top 5 Johnny Depp movies. It would be Pirates of the Caribbean 1 through 3, I'll tell you that much. I don't know. I don't think I've seen a lot of his other movies. I've seen Edward Scissorhands. That was him, right? Johnny Depp movies. Let's see. Just Googled it. He was in Fantastic Beasts 2. I don't like those movies. I didn't like the first one. I was fucking bored. Black Mass I saw. That movie was great. That would probably be my top 5. My first 3 are the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, easily. I'd probably go with then Black Mass. Alice in Wonderland in 2010. I forgot he was in that movie. Didn't love that movie. It was okay. I don't remember much about it. Then, honestly, it might be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That movie was weird, but it was much better than the Wonka movie they did recently. I didn't like that movie at all. He is Edward Scissorhands. I saw that in high school. I thought it was good. Not my favorite movie, but I thought it was good. Yeah, I'd probably go Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then... You know what? Actually, I take that back. No Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That movie was weird. I'm going to go Rango. Rango is amazing. I think Rango's a great movie. Very underrated. I would go Rango, the 3 pirate movies, and what was the other one I just said? Oh, Black Mass. Yeah. Good question. Those would be my top 5 Depp movies. Daniel said, shit was nothing like the OG now that I've seen both, but I was young enough at the time to not care, LOL. And Maria said, PG DX was trash. Richie said, DX with Hornswoggle was the best DX. Richie, get out of here with that nonsense. Emmanuel said, funny enough, the director for the Pirates of the Caribbean movies said he made At World's End as it was to leave no room for sequels. That's hilarious because they made sequels anyway. Yeah, because they ended it on such a great note and then they made more for no reason. They do not connect to the first 3 movies at all. I mean, they connect, like it's a sequel, but they're just not good. They're completely unnecessary movies. Daniel said, I'm glad Shawn Michaels got his life together, but sometimes I wish he never found God, LOL. Well, for the PGDX stuff, some of that stuff was bad. Richie said, those Fantastic Beast movies are dog water. Yeah, I tried watching it. I didn't finish it. I watched the first one. I was fucking bored. Even the Harry Potter movies, I feel like are just they were just a period in time where if you weren't watching it, you just didn't get it. And they're very good movies even watching now, but they just don't hold up as well all these years later, I don't think. They're still great movies, and some of them are great. I still think Harry Potter 4 was great. The last one's awesome. But, I mean, a lot of them are very hit or miss. Damn near fell asleep in the first one. For the first Fantastic Beast movie, yeah. Me too. I watched it on a plane. Daniel said his character never got edgy again. Yeah, for Shawn, the edgiest he got during that return run was when he was feuding with Hogan, and that was it. Then it was right back to being a babyface soon after. Donnie Brasco is my favorite Depp movie, Maria said. I've never heard of it, never seen it. Richie said, Edward Scissorhands is such a beautifully tragic movie. I don't remember much about it. I just watched it in high school. I liked it when I saw it. I just don't remember much about it, aside from like the just basic premise of the movie. Grunt said, I watched Dead Poet Society for the first time recently, and I can already say with confidence that it's my top 10 favorite movies of all time. That is not a bold opinion. That was an awesome movie. I watched that for the first time. My brother recommended that to me last year. So Alexis and I watched that last year. Fantastic movie. Honestly, Robin Williams might be one of my favorite actors of all time. He's not my favorite, but like, I mean, Grunt, I know you already liked Robin Williams anyway, so that's not a bold take for you, but what's that movie he's in? It's one of my favorite movies ever. Him and Matt Damon. God, I don't remember off the top of my head. What the fuck is it? That's one of my favorite movies ever. The movie with him and Matt Damon from like the 90s or whatever. I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. You guys would know what it is. Just put it in the chat and remind me. But that's a phenomenal movie, and he's so great in that. It's one of my favorite movies ever, like I said. Maria said, do you like the new Harry Potter cast? It's fine. I mean, I don't really... I'll see the new series. I'll see what it's about. I'm curious to see what it looks like and how they do justice to the books and whatnot, which I've read half of. I owned all of them, but I only read half of them. The cast, they had some interesting names that were announced. The kids, I don't know, so I can't really speak to them. They look like, Hermione and Harry and all those other kids. Good Will Hunting. Thank you, Grunt. Amazing movie. Love that movie. One of my favorites ever. But yeah, the new Harry Potter cast is fine. They announced some notable names, and I'm curious to see how they do, and hopefully it's a good show. But I don't really have any strong opinions one way or the other. Emmanuel said, have you ever seen the promo after SummerSlam 05 where Shawn put over Hulk Hogan's cat-like reflexes? No, I don't think I've seen that. That's hilarious. I do not think I've seen that. Maria said, did a movie ever leave you in tears, and which was it? Actually a few in recent years, to be honest. The movie with Brendan Fraser that came out 3 years ago, made me close to emotional. Very good movie, I thought. I thought that was a great movie, an excellent movie. That Wild Robot that came out last year, amazing movie. That brought me to tears. Guardians 3 also brought me to tears. Those also came out, they all came out in recent years. The end of A Click made me cry for that, one scene. For those that haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. Click was one of those movies. There's a lot of them, honestly. Even that one scene in Bridge to Terabithia, such a heartbreaking scene for those that haven't seen it. I won't say what it is, but that movie fucked me up. I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting it to be this sad. All great movies, though. All very, very good movies. And some of those were from recent years, so it's not as if I haven't cried at a movie in a few years. It's been a few of them in the last few years, actually. The Whale, that was the movie with Brendan Fraser. Richie said his was Spider-Man No Way Home. That movie didn't bring me to tears, but that movie was incredible, though. Great movie, one of my favorite movies of the last 5-10 years for sure. All right, well, on that note, folks, we'll probably wind it down there. On that note, like I said, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, this has been a blast. I appreciate you guys tuning in live. We had a lot of discourse on movie stuff, 06 movies, and a whole lot more here today. Be sure to rewind the video if you missed what we were discussing earlier. But yeah, I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much to everyone watching, listening live that was here earlier or here at the end. Be sure to like the video on your way out and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified every single time we're live here on the channel. We should be live again on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio with Mr. Marceau, so stay tuned for that. Maybe earlier on in the afternoon, around noon, around 11. Keep your notifications on to be notified when we go live on Thursday, talking the all-new WWE ESPN PLE deal. Didn't have a chance to talk about it last Thursday due to the whole SummerSlam 2-night review and whatnot. So we'll be discussing that in more depth and really getting into it, getting to the meat of it on Thursday's WrestleRant Radio. So stay tuned for that. But shout out again one more time to our channel members: Alexis, Miss Mon Matthews, Dillon, DiGiacomo, Mrs. Renee, DJ Swerve 1, Daniel Malcolm, RJ Marceau, John Ritland, Richie, and Average Grunt. Thank you all fine folks for your support of the channel. More information on how to become a $5 WrestleRant All Access Pass channel member down below. Top billing on shows like this, hashtag AskGSM and WrestleRant Radio. Get your topics discussed first, or answered questions first, or your questions answered first, rather, here on this show. Shout outs at the beginning and end of every single live stream that we do. You get badges and emojis in the live chat, like Richie's including right there, of Love Ziggler and Veer. You get early and ad-free access to other videos here on the channel, which I may do, actually, for my interviews with Braun Breaker and Alexa Bliss from SummerSlam weekend. I might make those members only first before putting them up for everyone else the following day. Should be doing that soon, so keep an eye out for that. But otherwise, be sure to like this video, drop a comment. All that stuff is greatly appreciated. And if you want to send in a question to the show for next week's episode, be sure to do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/graham.gsm.matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Monday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video, and I'll include your question in next week's edition. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Maria said, the fault of our stars gets me all the time. Fun fact about that movie, I started working at a movie theater when that movie came out. That was one of the first movies I had to clean up after. And it was always such a pleasure for me to be selling tickets to that movie, telling the demographic of people, usually girls that were my age, that would have been like early 20s or whatever, that would kind of be my conversation starter with people that were going to see the movie, like, oh, it's going to be a sad movie, get your tissues. Not like flirting with them or whatever, but that would be my conversation with them beyond just selling them their tickets. So I actually really appreciated that movie when it came out, because it led to a lot of great conversations with a lot of girls that went to go see that movie 10 years ago when I was still in college. But yeah, no, a lot of people got upset during that movie. Random story there. Richie said, W stream, W chat, Universal is Delulu. I agree. And Tyreek escaped again. He will always escape. We will never know. Like Rhea will never beat Io Sky. We will never know the answer to Love Ziggler, and I honestly would rather keep it that way. We love Ziggler, and we also love Tyreek. So shout out to Tyreek if he's still here, or if he's watching after the fact. He came in, raised hell, and left. God bless the guy. Tyreek or Alexis is never going to explain the Love Ziggler lore. Shake my head. I agree, Daniel. We may never know the answer. Or if Love Ziggler is Alexis's burner. It's a long-term booking, brother. We'll never know the answer, and if we do, it won't be for a very long time. Grunt with a wave in the chat. Thank you, Grunt. Thank you, Richie. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Emmanuel. Noob earlier. Everyone in the chat from earlier on and right now watching live and after the fact. Appreciate you guys so much. Have an awesome rest of your week. Like I said, we'll be back on Thursday for WrestleRant Radio, talking the new WWE ESPN deal for their PLEs and so much more with Mr. Marceau. So until next time, folks, I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Have an awesome one, and I'll catch your ass down the road.